To Week in Horror.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
The only podcast that will feed your horror need.
The need to feed.
With JL.
Yeah, I'm a fucking masochist. I'll watch that shit.
Eugene.
Somebody has to be the sex symbol. I'm sorry.
Alex.
Shit, I just demonetize this forever.
And Johnny O.
How do you like that shit? Got halfway through the monologue before unmuting myself. Golly, it's one of them fucking days.
With industry guests.
Hi, this is Richard Oakes, Director of Host.
Hey, this is Adam Leader, Director of Host.
This is Matthew Mark Hunter.
I'm Donna Nelly.
And you're listening to Week in Horror.
And you're listening to Week in Horror.
And this is Week in Horror.
And you're listening to Week in Horror.
Welcome to prime time, bitch!
News, trivia, and more.
One by one, we will take you.
Join our live show Wednesdays at 7 Central, youtube.com/weekinhorror, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Week in Horror. Stay scared.
I don't know what happened there. We were there for a second, and then we were gone again.
I'm sorry, I hit the button.
Premature button pushing.
Premature button pushing.
All right. Jeez, we're so stupid. Welcome, horror fans. It's Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time. That's true this time. And that means it's time for another episode of the Week in Horror podcast, the only podcast broadcasting from the furthest reaches of experience. That's not Pinhead behind me. And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast host, you can join us here for our live show on YouTube, so you too can laugh and scream with us, flex your horror knowledge in the live chat, and maybe even win some trivia prizes. This week, we're covering select films in horror history, April 24th through April 30th. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm some fat guy, and with me are JL and Eugene.
Hello, everybody.
What's up?
Why can't you just introduce yourself?
I did. Everybody knows me as that now.
Oh, fantastic.
Soon it's going to be some not as fat guy because I'm losing weight.
Okay.
The idea is to be some skinny guy by the end of the year.
Yeah. He has been. I've been following his stories and posts. Yeah, he's been going to the gym all the time.
Okay.
So much fun. So much fun when we just ruffle his feathers.
No, I'm just saying okay about you lose weight. Like, okay.
To all the listeners, I am presenting the bird to JL right now.
Let the record show.
Let the record show the defendant is currently flipping off.
Oh man.
The bird.
Yes,
yes, I know what the bird is, Goose.
The finger. Yes, I know the finger.
Keeping up foreign relations.
Communicating.
Yep. Giving him the bird. The finger. Oh, I'm sorry. Just
There's I forget who put the theory out, but I saw this Top Gun theory talking about how it's really a movie about Tom Cruise's character being gay.
Was it the volleyball scene that gave it away?
I mean, that's not the only thing that gives it away. Okay. Because they're talking about how he was over at Kelly McGinnis's character's house, right? And she'd all made dinner and seduced him and all this stuff, and then he just left because he didn't want anything to do with that. And it wasn't until she showed up the next day in the elevator dressed as a dude.
Dressed more guy-like,
yeah. And then he was like, "Let's do it."
We're not even 5 minutes in, and you're just going to get this podcast in trouble. Anyway,
I'm not the one who said it. I'm just
this is true.
I saw this, thing.
And I think I've seen the video that you're talking about that breaks that down.
I thought it was funny.
Oh man, this is an interesting way to begin the show. Absolutely. And of course, whether or not Tom Cruise is gay is a horror story for him.
No, whether or not Maverick is gay, not Tom Cruise. I don't know what Tom Cruise.
Sorry.
Is. Tom Cruise is something weird.
Oops. So it's like an F4 metaphor for penis?
I think so. Like F14 is like 14 inches.
And you can be my wingman anytime.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
That's
you
why
can
there's
be mine.
2 pilots.
That's right.
Although I never would believe it. I'll never believe that Tim Robbins would ever fit into the cockpit of one of those things. There's no way.
Way too tall, 6'4" motherfucker. No, Tom Cruise, yeah,
Tom Cruise could absolutely.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise is the perfect size.
Fit 5 of him in that motherfucker. With the single seater, I know.
Oh, well.
What are we doing? Let's talk about horror stuff.
Let's kick this stuff off. So, hello, everybody.
That's right. Top Gun is of the Navy.
It's true.
But
in the Navy's defense, whenever you had to go somewhere, they always gave you a ride. So,
well, yeah, that's true. But then I'll be like, why is my Uber driver?
That's so fucked up. Oh man.
All right. So, man, okay, we are kicking off real strong tonight.
Yeah, buddy.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Good to see everybody. We have a bunch of stuff to talk about tonight. So before we get into our movies, we're going to touch on a few things. We have some things to show you as well. So before we jump into anything, let's say hi to everybody before the chat gets too deep and I miss everyone. Let me see.
Hi,
here.
everybody.
We got Angel Rivera's in the house. Good to see you. Says, what up, what up? Good to see you, Angel. Travis Brown as well. Good to see you, Travis Brown. Looking forward to you to seeing how you're going to do at the After Dark this upcoming weekend. It's going to be interesting. And, of course, at the Bloodbath, which is this Saturday. And those invites will be going out for our special guest judges. And Sketch Crash is in the house. Is yay. Good to see you as well. Thank you so much for being here. Cindy Johnson as well is in the house. Good evening to you. Raven Darkstar. Good to see you, Raven. And NANA, one of our longest patrons. And you can see all of our patrons down below. You see them scrolling across the board there. And, of course, see Jinju. I see Jinju as well. Thank you so much for being here. And Tony Regime, thank you so much. Says hello, everyone. Hello, Tony Regime. Hey, and H. Jasper E., another one of our amazing patrons. Good to see you. And Sonia Garlic, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Got an amazing live chat going on. Sarcasm as well is in the house. Good to see you, Sarcasm. Thank you so much for being here. As well as, I know I saw another name in there.
Is Donnie Does That and the George said?
Donnie Does That's in the house. Good to see you, Donnie Does That. And the Jordan. And the George said, or Jordan, good to see you. Says, hey, Week in Horror, sorry I missed you live last week. Can't wait for this one, though. Not often I've seen every movie in the Week in Horror lineup. Very, very cool.
Oh, it's okay.
Awesome, awesome.
It's not often I've seen every movie in the Week in Horror lineup.
Travis,
it just got up with.
Sorry, I was also looking at this. So yeah, Sarcasm says, and TOS shut down in 3, 2, 1. Travis Brown says, F Tom Cruise. How about Charlie Sheen in Hot Shots?
Yep,
I love Hot Shots.
You too.
Hot Shots, amazing movie.
Yeah,
and Media Macabre is there.
Is great too.
That's Aaron. Aaron's hanging out in the live chat. Good to see you. Says, I'm here-ish. All good.
Is that like Finnish? There-ish? I don't know. So stupid.
And H. Jasper, not a problem at all. This is not a patron lately, but looking forward to having my stuff sorted next month. Whenever's good for you, bud. We're just happy to have you in the live chat here hanging out with us. So thank you so much, bud. We do appreciate it big time. All right. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to announce that we have a new patron.
We do.
We do have a new patron.
Did we say hi to Cindy Sue?
Yes.
Hi, Cindy Sue.
Oh, okay. Or hi, Cindy Sue.
Hi,
good to see you, Cindy Sue. Thank you so much for being here. If I missed it, I apologize. But you can see their name down there in the banner. It is Kevin Wersch. Is a new. Actually, I just realized I misspelled his name because I'm like an idiot. So there we go. So Kevin Wersch is our brand new patron. Joins our Fanatic family. Thank you so much, Kevin. We do appreciate it.
Absolutely appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
And of course, if you also would like to be a patron, if you'd like to find out how to support the channel, the link for our patron is down in the description below. We have a number of tiers that are available with all kinds of cool bonus stuff and special access behind the scenes. Go ahead and check those out. The link is down in the description. So
little as $1 a month.
Yeah, our lowest tier, $1 a month.
Yeah.
And see, Aaron says, I'm in a shitty mood. I've been walking around acting like JL all day.
Bark.
What? You've been walking around extremely handsome and fully knowledgeable about all the things that you talk about?
Yeah, that's what he meant.
Oh, that's funny. All right, so I don't know if you guys saw it, and I don't know if the audience saw it, but I want to show it tonight and get everybody's opinion. the new trailer for Firestarter is out.
Yay.
I have seen it.
Have you seen it, Johnny?
No, I've been busy doing that work back there, but I haven't seen it.
So I wanted to show the show. This is good. This would be the first time you see it. And of course, our live audience see it as well for those who have not seen it. And I want to show everybody and get everybody's initial reactions to it. You ready? So for everybody in the live chat, this is the trailer for Firestarter.
Daddy,
What's going on, sweetie?
something feels weird. Something's changing.
You remember the tools we taught you, right?
Pencil, desk, paper, shoes. You're weird. Everything okay, Charlie? It happened again.
What happened?
The bad thing.
If you ever start to lose control, what do you do?
It didn't work.
She's not a robot, Annie. She's a little girl with little girl emotions, which are wildly unpredictable.
Charlie?
She just has to shove it down and keep it hidden.
Our responsibility is getting her ready.
Our responsibility is to protect her.
Charlie?
If they catch her, they're gonna put her in a cage.
Charlie?
They're gonna run tests on her for the rest of her life. We'll never see her again.
If who catches me?
Something's happened. I need it handled with discretion. And I need her back alive.
Holy shit.
Do you know what it means to be on the run?
Bad men are after us. Really bad.
I hate living like this! You're special, Charlie. I'm not special. I'm a monster! Charlie!
I want to help her.
You want to use her. Charlie?
Don't be stupid.
Where's Mommy?
Do you feel that? Let her go or it's gonna get a lot worse.
Where's Mommy? Tell me now!
She's the first of her kind. A real life superhero.
You need to understand how to use it. It can't be a reaction. It's gotta be a decision. That's the only way that you can control it. She's becoming a young woman.
I'm not going to jail.
And someday soon, you're gonna change the world. She may be capable of a nuclear explosion. Run, Charlie! On your knees! Simply with the force of her mind. The whole world going to hell. Promise me that you'll never use your gifts to hurt people.
I'll only hurt bad people, I promise.
Trust me, Charlie. You don't have to be afraid. Please, I can help you.
Liar, liar. Pants on fire. I don't want to hurt anyone, but it feels kind of good.
Give me Drew Barrymore back.
All right, so that was the trailer for Firestarter that just recently dropped, and considering it comes out next month, I was just kind of curious as to. So,
is that going streaming or is that going to be
both?
Okay.
Yep. No, you're shaking your head. Oh, go ahead, Eugene.
I mean, it feels like the horror genre capitalizing on the superhero genre.
Yeah,
it seems more like a superhero origin story than kind of like the original feels like its own thing. Like it doesn't feel like a super. I feel like she's going to become some Avenger, like at the end of it.
Yeah.
And like I wanted to be kind of like its own thing. I don't want it to be like oh, she could be a superhero, or oh, she could be. It's like, no, she's a girl that is going through a traumatic experience and has to deal with the power. I want it to be more like Carrie. Carrie has superpower, right. Feel like a superhero.
Let's see.
I don't know. I don't know about this. It's just, I don't want to sound like that person's like, oh, it's not the original, so it's going to stink. But they have a very tall order to fill. We talked about this many, many times in this show about people redoing classics.
Mm-hmm.
And at best, realistically, you can hope to be just as good as, right? That's like the ceiling for most of these films, especially with some, like beloved classics like Firestarter, like Christine, And there'll be people like, no, this movie's so much better, and they're going to be categorically incorrect. But just because that's true doesn't mean we can't enjoy the film. I'll reserve my negative judgment until after I've seen the film.
So Travis Brown says someone tells Zac Efron he is not in High School Musical. And
look, here's the thing: Zac Efron gets a lot of shit, but he really has some chops. He does. The guy can act. He can act. I didn't want to ever admit that because he's goofy ass, but I've seen him in enough roles. He's got some chops.
Agreed.
Yeah, when you see him as Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
See,
he's a little too, like, if you take a picture of him and put it next to Ted Bundy, and when he's in Ted Bundy characters, look too close. You need to.
And the George says, I do get that. It's like it's trying to be Brightburn, but that's not what the original was meant to do. And I have to agree with that because the original, obviously the original Firestarters, both the novel and the adaptation, which was based very strongly off the novel, just little bits that were left out that were unnecessary, but it's set in the Stephen King universe where there isn't really the CIA. There's a place called the Shop.
Right.
And the Shop is the one that deals with all of this paranormal stuff and essentially acts like the CIA in the Stephen King universe. And the Shop has been referenced multiple times throughout Stephen King's works. So, and this is just a continuation on that. They were running experiments like MK Ultra and like here in the real world. And then of course, resulting in actual psychic phenomena. And then Charlie is the result of two of those participants having a child, falling in love and having a child. So I think he was a pusher. He was a mental pusher, and she was a telekinetic.
Mm-hmm.
And so then all of a sudden they have Charlie, who's this extremely powerful basically a pyrokinetic, is what she is. So but like I like what Aaron said. Aaron said it feels like it went more Dean Koontz than Stephen King, where it's leaning heavily into the government conspiracy, and then aspects that weren't really strong in the novel or in the original movie with Drew Barrymore. Is that one, that Eugene, you were right, that one focuses more on Charlie's coming of age, dealing with the trauma of losing her parents, dealing with the circumstances of her birth, and of course dealing with this power that kind of separates her from everybody around her, and knowing her limitations and knowing when and not to use it. So obviously all the things we have to deal with growing up, only hers are more exacerbated but it's still a coming of age.
Because she can light your fire.
Yes, she can.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately,
this one, Dark Light.
And I think this one loses it. That's the charm of the original, and why it was so good.
The charm of the original was Drew Barrymore. Let's be honest.
Well,
she had that little, those little cheeks and a cute little face. Like, oh, she's so. Wait a minute, she just tortured you. That's kind of scary. That something so awful can come out of something so sweet and innocent. Yeah, honestly, it's not me being funny. I'm being serious here. If you look at Drew Barrymore in that role. She had just done what was it? Fucking hell. Ouch. She just come off E.T.
Yeah.
And she wasn't much, or she was 2 years after E.T. when the original Firestarter, something like that, 1983, 1984, some shit like that. She was fresh off of E.T. and she still had that cute little face and that sweet little innocence about her. And here she is torching things.
Right.
That was the perfect combination of that sweet and spicy, so to speak. But yeah, that was the charm of the original film. Was you fell in love with Drew Barrymore's portrayal of that character, and because of how cute she was and her little mannerisms and the fact that she was this little doll of a Satan child, and and then of course the story was really good too. And this one, it seems that they're kind of, I don't know. It just, maybe it was a trailer. Maybe it was a bad trailer. Yeah.
And see, that's what I'm hoping. It's like they're going to try to market a superhero movie because it's hot right now.
Yeah.
But it could be something completely different. That's what I'm hoping for.
So it could have been we got a slightly misleading trailer. There's also the fear that somebody in the live chat brought up that they show. As Sarcasm said, they showed all the good bits in the trailer, and I still wasn't impressed. And possible that's always a possibility that we got all of the really, really hot parts in the trailer, but unfortunately we may not leave nothing for the film. So I don't know how it's going to play out. I'm still 50-50 on it based upon what I saw. But I wanted to share with everybody and see what people thought. I see that we got a couple more people jumped in. I saw Commander Darklight. Good to see you, Commander Darklight, one of our oldest patrons. Thank you so much. And I see God420, another one of our amazing patrons in the house. Good to see you. All right. And the last thing I wanted to bring up was this one, because this episode is going to air this coming Sunday, is when it goes out to all the podcast sites. And the last weekend in April is going to be Texas Frightmare Weekend 2022. And I will be traveling down to Texas so I can go and hang out and get some autographs and pretty much just chill Weekend Horror wherever I go. And and I see Elizabeth Sylvester as well. Good to see you, Elizabeth Sylvester. Thank you so much for being here. Another one of our amazing patrons and supporters. Thank you so much. But I'll be going down there, and I've got it set. I actually set my list. So, oh goodness, wow! I need to check my phone because we have 2 new patrons.
Oh wow!
2 new patrons that just came in. And I'll add y'all's name to the banner, but we'll go ahead and do your big shout outs right now. Cindy Sue has joined the Weekend Horror patron family. Thank you so much, Cindy Sue.
Thank you so much, Cindy Sue.
And Dawn Warner has joined the Weekend Horror patron family. Thank you so much, Dawn. We do appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Dawn. Awesome.
Definitely. Thank you very, very much. We do appreciate that. And Dawn, be sure to get your shipping details to us either via Patreon or via the Discord, or you can just email them to us at weekinhorror@gmail.com so we can get you set up for your patron bonus gift. So just let me just go and get those to us whenever you can. Thank you so much. All right, man, cool. And then of course, I'll be going down to Texas Frightmare Weekend, and I made myself a list of who I'm going to be getting. And I know that Aaron was crazy jealous of this. I know I put it in here. I had to scroll back through the messages. We talk so much on Messenger. Oh, yeah. So I am definitely going to get Brad Dourif, Lance Henriksen, Alice Kriega, Bill Moseley, and Heather Langenkamp. I am definitely getting them. And then I may possibly get the Scream cast because Nev Campbell, Skeet Ulrich, Jamie Kennedy, and Matthew Lillard will all be there. So I may get that one because I'm thinking about getting the cast for the cast shot when they're all sitting around the fountain in front of the school and get it with all of them together and then getting them all the time. The only person I'd be missing is Rose McGowan. So, but getting all of them to sign that, I think that would be cool. And then, of course, possibly Fiona Dourif, because I'm a big fan of Brad Dourif's daughter. So I'm a big fan of hers as well. So maybe those, but I know who I'm definitely getting. Do you think you might be coming out, or you too busy?
It's gonna depend because I might have a couple of gigs that weekend, and because I'm hoping, because if I do, I get to work on some pretty serious stuff. So I'm really excited about that.
And he's going to need a janitor.
Exactly. Last year I got to high-five Tony Todd as he walks past me. That was right there. That was the highlight. Just walk past us. I'm like, high five. It's like, high five.
Yep.
Done.
Nice. All right then. What about you, Johnny? What do you think?
I'm going to try to be there. I was trying to look at the dates because there are some things that might be happening for me on those dates. That's the 29th and that's the 30th, right?
Yep, the 29th, the 30th, and the 1st.
I might be able to make it. We'll see what happens.
We'll see. But yeah, it should be exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I will be down there and just pretty much chilling out Weekend Horror, and of course, adding some autographs to my growing collection that's on my wall. You can't really, which is a shame. I probably need to restructure because
I told you how to fix it, but you don't listen to me. So
no, yeah, how to light it, yes, but how to arrange everything so you can see everything.
You don't have to be able to see everything. You just got to be able to see some of it.
And you can see all of those, all the ones that are. You can see the ones that are behind me. Yeah. And I've got ones all down there, and eventually there's just going to be more. They're going to be all over the place. It's my big, and it's all my autographs are customized. They're personalized to me, so it's not so they're mine. So I'm happy about that.
Oh, did you see? I don't know if I sent it to you or not. Did you see that TikTok? I think I sent it out. I can't remember, but it was It was the night that we were there because I remember this happening. I saw it, just kind of randomly saw it on TikTok. It's the little guy dressed up as Jason, taking his picture with CJ and Kane Hodder.
I think I did.
You sent it because I was working all day. I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Yeah. I was like, man, that looks really familiar. And I asked, hey, is this from Texas Frightmare Weekend last year? And at first, like, no, it's from Nashville, blah, 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 blah. I was like, man, that looks awful lot like Texas Frightmare Weekend. And the creator came back and said, oh, no, you're right. CJ just corrected me. This is from Texas Frightmare Weekend.
TFW, sweet.
Yeah, so we were there, and we saw this happen. So that was pretty cool.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and I see Don Warner down there in the chat. Good to see you, Don. Thank you so much for joining us as a patron. We do appreciate it. Thank you for the support. All right. Well, it's going to be exciting times coming up.
I guess we should talk about horror movies or something.
Yes, we got some movies to talk about.
Let's do it. Eugene, or is it JL? JL, you're on deck. Let's do it. Let's see what we got.
All right. So our first movie, let me make sure I pull up the info on it. Well, the first one we're going to talk about tonight released April 26, 2018, and it is the movie Downrange. Let's take a look at this trailer.
That's what happens when you fart.
No, shark fart.
Shark fart.
This movie is so brutal.
It's the longest preview appropriate audiences I've ever seen.
They really want to make sure you read it.
Yeah, every word.
Wait, what the heck? Hang on a second.
The following preview is approved for appropriate audiences by the Motion Picture Association of America, Inc.
Okay, that's not right. Hang on a second.
I might actually visit.
It totally screwed it up.
He got caught.
Oh, man.
Is it this one? Okay, something's going on here.
Nope. No trailer for you.
No, there is. I promise it's here. No, it's not that one. Cancel that.
It's definitely not that one.
Shut up. Shut up and watch my trailer.
I see the sniper.
All right.
Oh, it's over.
Such a dick. All right. Downrange, directed by, I'm going to try. I've looked it up how to do it. It's Rui Kitamura and written by Rui Kitamura and Joey O'Brien, starring Kelly Conair, Stephanie Pearson, and Rod Hernandez.
Really? You act like it's the Cyrillic bullshit you give Eugene and myself. You're over there, I'm going to take my time with this one. I'm not for certain. Rui Kitagora. Like, fuck off. It's not some Hiernis Ganirko.
So the movie Downrange follows a group of teenagers who find themselves as a result of a blown tire find themselves stuck on the side of a very rural and empty kind of desolate road, where they are then systematically picked off by a sniper hiding out there somewhere in the wilderness. And of course, inevitably people come to help them, and it turns into an absolute bloodbath. But And I'll think of this for something that was a Shudder original. I really, really enjoyed this one. I dug the hell out of it. And movies like this I always find particularly a bit more scary than like supernatural, like ghosts or goblins or monsters or heaven and hell like this, because it's
actually happened. I mean, not
because it's
story, but what was it? 2000 and what was that? The sharpshooter and his son.
The DC sniper.
The DC snipers.
The DC sniper. Yeah.
So, I mean, the very real aspect of it, given how it was portrayed, given how the sniper was portrayed, and what was going on, and I felt it was a little bit forced that one of the characters had like some military background because she was a military brat, so she's kind of like able to kind of give the exposition to the audience to kind of keep us caught up. That was a little unnecessary, but it works, and a vicious little film that obviously I think hits a little bit harder because of how realistic it is.
Yeah, this film gives me hope for certain things.
You know what? How I felt about this movie is closer to how JL, I'm going to call it the Ninth Gate. Because I'm not going to spoil the ending, but all I'm going to say, the last death, that's not how a bolt action rifle works. It's not. I was watching it and I was kind of like, okay, this is kind of cool so far, and I can bypass certain things. He must be using a silencer, and there's never a fucking silencer on it at all at any point whatsoever on it. He's using maybe a Remington 700, something like that, on it.
Those things are fucking loud, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, and the thing is on top of that, when you think of a gunshot, even a gunshot at long range, it's like a giant megaphone because everything's coming out one end.
Right.
So it's super loud on the receiving end. And even with the silencer, weapons are still loud even with silencers.
Yes.
They're not as loud.
That's the funniest thing about the whole movie magic thing when they put on is really what we're talking about suppressors, because no such thing as a silencer, right?
Yeah.
You can put all the suppression you want. They're still going to make noise.
Right.
That sound just doesn't stop. It goes somewhere. What a suppressor does is it helps dissipate the sound quicker, so it's not whatever. We're getting into the nitty gritty of what a suppressor is, but yeah, you're absolutely correct. There's no, yeah, yep,
yeah. Like I said, I'm not going to spoil it because it's still within a 5 year period, and I was like, okay, I can get it. I can bypass some of the stuff. Like the gore effects on it were really cool. On it had some really, really interesting moments. But the last kill, the last death, I almost table flipped. I was just, it may be the stupidest death I've ever seen or maybe not ever, but I've seen in a long time.
As stupid as one girl running up on Michael Myers in Halloween Kills when he's at the car door.
Look, because this is the reason. This is the reason why this one is worse. The reason why
I don't know if that one was worse. I don't know. I don't know, because
the reason is because on that one she's like a side character. A bunch of people are doing kind of some stupid stuff, and she runs okay, it's a stupid kill. This one you invest an hour and a half into this thing, and then it happens. I was almost as upset as in the Belko experiment. The girl who's super smart, and then she hops down from the elevator and just gets shot in the head.
And just get popped right in the elevator.
And you're just like,
I was like, damn, Danny, I'm sorry. It's like the door's open. Pow! I was like, oh shit. Well, okay, that's Danny.
So I was so upset on that death.
But at least Danny's death in the Belko experiment served a purpose to let you know that it doesn't matter how fucking smart you are. The only way you're getting out of this thing is by luck of the draw. If you're just the luckiest one.
Right.
2018 to answer, I think it was Raven Darkstar's question. 2018. But yeah, I gotta say, I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough because even though what's name was a throwaway character in Halloween Kills, I don't care how hard you pick a door into a fucking 50 caliber Desert Eagle. You're not going to shoot yourself in the face that way. It's physically
Desert Eagle 0.50.
0.50. It's not. I mean,
how
it's hard for the hand to bend that way.
Yeah, and then be able to, and
then pull the trigger on top. Yeah.
So Anna George said, this is one of the first movies in a long time to actually give me a new fear. When I see a wide open field with a tree line, it gives me an uneasy feeling akin to sewers with It. That's impressive. And I will say it does make, I mean, just the sheer reality of it, because other than the last moment that Eugene is talking about, which arguably is kind of like, oh, what the fuck? It's very much a what the fuck moment. But other than that, everything leading up to that was it was strong. It was good, and it elicits a real fear of it, because this is something that, like I said, some of the best horror takes directly from real life.
Mm-hmm.
And there was nothing beyond like supernatural or extreme to the point it's like that could never happen in reality, other than maybe that last 5 minutes, but or that last moment, I would say, in the movie. But as far as it goes, that was terrifying, because the dude was decked. I mean, once it finally reveals him, the guy was loaded and obviously trained, and that level of marksmanship is in. I mean, you watch YouTube, you see that level of marksmanship is absolutely possible. Not to mention the editing was strong, because when you're trying to convey like distance kills like that, when you're trying to convey a sniper and the reactions of people that they're shooting at, that can be difficult when it comes to film, just because you're trying to convey the shock of the gun firing to everybody's reaction. Your editing has got to be on point. Editing, sound, everything in this was really top notch. It was just a couple of minor hiccups here and there that I thought were just either unnecessary or just unwarranted, but especially with the level of investment. But as far as like the gruesome kills and really conveying how terrifying that situation would be, I got to say this one was definitely solid, and it begs it demands the audience ask, what would you do in that situation?
There's actually, because speaking about like with the sound, there's actually something a little detail that I would have appreciated a lot more is, so when you shoot long distances, bullets are supersonic. Therefore, the bullet will hit somebody before you'll even hear the bang. It's not simultaneously. And in a very long range shot, somebody can get shot and like a little bit of time passes before you even hear the shot. And I wish they would have conveyed that a little bit more detail on something like that.
Yeah,
that's one of the things that makes the snipers so terrifying, is because the bullet's going to hit you before you hear it.
Yeah,
you know it's even there.
Right, light travels faster than sound, and objects obviously travel faster than both. So that would have been great. That would have been a great little detail. Yeah, absolutely would have been an excellent detail to like put a dot on the exclamation point of how far away these shots were happening.
I mean, exactly on it. So it's like a couple of little things on there, I think could have just upped it on it. I come from bias because I like long range shooting, so just like say I have a little biasm right there on it. But in terms of
targets, not people, by the way.
Targets. Yeah, exactly.
Soda cans in people's hands. I mean,
we all have to have a hobby.
Absolutely. But one of the things that is really terrifying, and we talk about real things, is where somebody's talking about an open space. Open spaces don't terrify me. If you're in an open space in the woods somewhere and you see a glint, because scopes usually have a glint or they'll reflect light barely. So you're in open space and you see a little glint in the background. That's like a nope for me.
See, that's what I was. I found
some piece of tin foil that somebody tossed out of there.
I found myself looking in the background because I knew, because just by the trailer, you know what the movie's about. You know there's going to be a sniper in it just by watching the trailer. And so I found myself constantly looking, like when the characters are not paying attention, when they're like dealing with the busted tire and they're doing all that, blah, blah, blah. And I found myself looking at the background to see if there would be a glint off the scope, as like, just as he was adjusting position or doing whatever, like he was like just a faint little glint, like off somewhere in the tree line, just to kind of give it away. But nobody noticed it, but the audience did. I thought that would have been really cool.
Yeah,
and something really, and only in specific shots, so you can see where he's going to be coming from, so that the audience has a little bit more information than the characters do. And I thought that would, because then you're like, oh crap, because you see where he is, then you're wondering when's the next shot going to come? Where is it going to? It's like when it's going to happen. So, because I thought that would have been interesting. I thought that was kind of a missed opportunity.
Yeah,
but I'm watching this. I have to admit, the characters. As far as
they're dumb.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. The movie demands the audience ask themselves, what would you do in this particular situation? I thought that
a busted ass tire, because I can still get down the street pretty quick. May not have all kinds of control, might be a fight, but I can get down the street with 3 tires.
On the rim on the rear tire.
Yeah,
you can drive on 3 tires.
Yeah,
but well, I mean, for one, they had
the rim up, but sure,
they had a busted tire. They had a busted tire. They didn't know what was going on until they had already gotten the tire off. Now they got to get the new tire on. They're still under fire, and they didn't have time to bolt the thing, which is why kind of the rolling barricade kind of broke down. Yeah. So what are you going to? So in that situation, I mean, there wasn't much that they could do, because the minute the guy realized the casing, or not the casing, the shell was like tucked, it was in between the rubber and the rim. And then when he pulled it off and the thing fell out, and he was like, and it was in remarkable condition, I have to give it that. It was kind of
it's a brand new round, but
I was kind of like, well, that looks very, very clean.
That's been shot.
So, but when he realizes it, and then boom, he goes down. And I was like, okay. And then there wasn't much that they could do. So given the circumstances, trying to run obviously would be very dumb. I think the only dumb decision that I saw, other than the very final one that pissed Eugene off, the only real dumb decision was that one girl who took off into the woods amongst the mist and the smoke and everything. Why did she come back? Just go. Just run.
Yeah, because I like the idea of when they lit the car on fire. Especially, it's like, okay, if you're under sniper attack right there, waiting till dark makes it harder to see. If a sniper is using any kind of, say, night vision, infrared, or something like that, right, you light the car on fire because you can see a lit cigarette in infrared. So a huge car burning, it's going to be bright. And the thing is with smoke, he still has to see the target.
Mm-hmm.
And the smoke is hot. The smoke is still hot coming off.
The smoke. So the smoke is still going thick. And the thing is like night vision. So if he has infrared, it's going to hone in on the burning car. If he's using just regular night vision, the smoke is going to obscure it. And then what you do is you don't run side to side like that. You run back. If you're using the fire and smoke as cover, you stay along that line until you get into the trees. Because even then, once you get into the trees, he still has to have line of sight on it.
Right.
That would have been my thought process. But I come from that background, so I can understand people not thinking something like that.
Yeah, the civilians probably not thinking as clearly in this particular situation. All they know is someone's firing at me, and I don't want to get hit. So panic then inevitably sets in. And then in some cases, the panic's overwhelming, and they just like sit down, and just people just like freeze, and they don't know what to do. So they just try to be small and curl up, and hopefully it's that kind of animal instinct that requires, like training like Eugene has, to kind of get past that and be like, no, this is what I need to do. This is what's going on. I need to be able to react in the situation. But I thought it was deep. I thought it was fairly realistic and made it all the more kind of like, I would say scary in that respect, just because you never know.
I did like about this movie, though, is this is a textbook low-budget movie that, in terms of, I don't know, I think he did like Midnight Meat Train or something like that also.
Yes.
That sounds naughty.
But I like in terms of utilizing a budget, because this is something that can be done on an extremely low budget. The film takes place in one area that they probably shot for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. You spend all your budget on 3 vehicles you're going to wreck, and then on makeup and gore effects. Yeah. That's your entire budget right there on it. And it seems like it's something that can be really easy, doable. Once again, you don't have to explain anything, because he's just there. I like to snipe people. They drive by. I'm going to... Whatever his reasoning is, you don't have to explain it. You don't have to do anything like that. I mean, they could have shot this easily for maybe a couple $100,000, and it doesn't feel that way. So I will give them props on that.
They did extremely well. And I see that Rodent No Last Name has joined the chat. Good to see you, Rodent No Last Name. Thank you so much for being here, bud. We do appreciate it. They spent a full 2 minutes rerunning the muzzle flash and the cell phone wipe because we have to make up for time. We got to. It can't be super fast. You've got to do it enough times. So
look,
the audience
45-minute movies aren't going to sell. Okay, we want an hour, 15, or 20.
Because we have to fill the time allotment. That's what we have to do. Apparently, we were buffering for a little bit. Or maybe not. I don't know. Let us know if it's cleared up, Jordan. Sorry about that. Yeah, everybody else saying it's fine.
Yeah. So yes, it is just you and the Jordan's head.
So this is kind of curious. So I'm curious. I want to ask the audience. So movies like this, in which there is no motive, there is no discernible reason as to why the villain is doing what they're doing, why this mass murder or serial killing is taking place, and it's left. They never explain themselves. They're never forced to explain themselves. There's no rhyme or reason as to why these terrible things are taking place.
Because reasons.
Because movie.
That's all we need. Yeah, because movie.
Movie. But I want to ask the audience, what do you prefer? Do you prefer, is it scarier for you? Or do you like more when the villain has no motive? When there is no reason given? It's just what it is. Evil does what evil does. Or do you prefer to have the exposition? Do you prefer to have that explanation? Maybe it connects you more with the characters in and of themselves and their motivation and makes you kind of ask those questions. So which one do you find scarier? Which one do you prefer? Let us know in the live chat or down there in the comments, or of course at weekinhorror@gmail.com.
I really think it depends on the movie. It depends on the film. Because for this thing, it works. Now, to say that there's no motive, there is a motive. We just don't know what it is. And it doesn't matter, because this movie isn't about why he's doing it. It's about surviving the fact that he's doing it.
Right.
Which works. But if this was some sort of like intricate supernatural thing, then we would kind of need to know the motive. We would need why it's happening, or we just don't give a shit. You know what I mean? So I think it depends on the movie, depends on the story you're telling, but I think both work.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think it depends on also the kind of feel for the kind of feel that you're going for. So if you take this, you take something like The Strangers, this does work because it's about just surviving, and you see it from the victim's perspective, which victims don't necessarily get all that information. But if you take a movie, for example, something like, say, You're Next, you need that explanation. Yeah, it's cool that she kick ass and they have the whole home invasion thing and stuff like that. But if she was just whooping random people's ass as they're attacking, you wouldn't really be able
care.
to get into it. Right. Yeah, you wouldn't care.
But so you brought up the Liv Tyler film, and the coolest part about that is there is no motive, and they let you know at the end of the film that there's no motive. When she asks why us, and they say, well, because you were home.
Because you were home.
Point blank and period. You just happen to that's like wrong place at wrong time. Perfect. Works.
And the Jordan says, yes, malice for the sake of malice is terrifying.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's
think about it this way.
It's decidedly human.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Right.
Put yourself in a situation that if you've ever been in this type of situation, why was the bad shit happening to you? Did you know? No. Did you care? Probably not. You just wanted to get out of the bad situation. I'm not necessarily saying, like, hey, remember the last time you were a victim of a sniper thing? But, think of the last time you were in some dangerous situation. Did you need the motive? No, you just needed to get the fuck out of there. So it works. It's a very relatable, done right.
Yeah, exactly. It's just somebody who's coming in trying to attack you. That's all you care about, is to survive and get out of there.
Right.
So Commander Darklight says, Wolf Creek with the no motive. Why does Mick Taylor kill the people that he kills? Kind of because he's a xenophobe, but he also takes a real grandiose level of
fucking Australian, and everything in Australia is trying to kill you.
because he's because everything in Australia wants to kill you. And he says, yes, no motive. No motive. There's a lot of love for the no motives.
Think about that. What was that? Oh God, the home invasion film.
To narrow it down.
The newer one. With the baby baster.
Don't Breathe.
Don't Breathe. Golly.
Oh,
yeah. Think about what happened when they give us a motive for that one.
That motive eventually.
Sorry, guys. Anyway,
he got a mouthful of it at the end. So definitely extreme. All right. So Eugene, take us to our second one. I'm sorry that I gave you this one.
No, he's not. He's like doing dances. Like,
this okay. I'm gonna be straight up honest. I do really like B films just in general, and I like B films that aren't necessarily like the stereotypical the Sharknado or blah 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 blah. I do like some B films that are just straight up like if I'll be honest, if I watched this film as a kid, I would actually probably really like it. But we're talking about Infected, which was released April 27th, 2008.
All right. Unfortunately, this trailer exists nowhere except IMDb. So, and I can't pull it from IMDb, so I have to share it from IMDb.
We're gonna be in Barney.
You think it's gonna get us in trouble?
No.
Okay, because it's not YouTube.
No.
So
IMDb doesn't care.
All right, here we go. I was like, I tried to find it. I really did.
Hydrogen.
Yay.
Water for life.
The source of all life is about to take a deadly turn.
These are frightening times. There is no happy ending anymore. The mayor has just been shot.
There is a conspiracy involving top city officials and Whitefield Water.
One mistake, and the infection of knowledge spreads.
Now,
that guy said he took this black goop from the mayor.
I saw him do it.
two reporters must uncover a conspiracy.
They were using the water to make people sick.
To what end?
We have to figure out what this is.
It's some kind of protein. Would be found in all living things, except it's only found in space.
I have found your anomaly.
Hey, how come you know about all of these things?
Because I am one of them.
Why bring us here?
To help you save yourselves from the plan.
You mean the invasion?
Get the hell out of there now!
This is a quarantine failure. You fail, knowledge spreads.
Go, go, Power Rangers.
Okay.
Oh,
Before I read this, fun fact, getting ready for this podcast. So there were two films that were called Infected that came out in 2008.
Yes.
And
did you watch you watched the wrong one, didn't you?
No, I watched both of them.
Because the other one is terrible.
Because they're like, listen, this is a bad film. So I was like, I don't know how bad you're talking about. So this is the higher production value.
Yeah, this is the better of the two.
Yeah, this one actually can afford to have like a cast. So I mean, shockingly, like Gil Bellows. I mean, it's the pretty much B television, B movies and television. Yeah, I get that. Supporting actors and like this, but and a lot of indie film. But Isabella Rossellini, Judd Nelson,
harder for cash.
Go ahead and Eugene, give him the breakdown.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. First of all, you have directed by Adam Weissman and starring Maxim Roy, Gil Bellows, Isabella Rossellini, and Judd Nelson. And the trailer pretty much gives it away that you have these two reporters that are undercover, or they're covering, they're investigating a whole conspiracy with aliens and all this other kinds of stuff on it. This is one of those films where I can honestly see how it has a cult following, because it's kind of fun. If you want to go and make a drinking game out of it,
You're gonna die.
It's kind of fun. I'm not gonna tell you right now. I'm not gonna tell you it's a good movie. I'm not gonna be like, oh, you should go see it. And man, it's so awesome. It's gonna change.
You should go watch it, so we're not the only ones who wasted an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's one of those. If you just like those type of B movies, where really, really B. This is made for TV movie,
sci-fi schlock. Yeah,
yeah.
Before
it was big.
It premiered on the Sci-Fi Channel because
Oh man, those special effects, boy! I tell you.
Oh man, that's some like 2000 special effects in a 2008 movie.
Yeah,
that's some
that
1992 special effects trying to be 2000 special effects in a 2008 movie. It was.
We look at it. We look at it like, yeah, the film is not great, and it doesn't really, proffer anything. I mean, there are movies that do it better. Hell, Charlie Sheen's The Arrival did it better. And the question on this particular, because it's similar kind of plot lines in that, but the big one on this one, and the reason I found this interesting, and I was kind of looking forward to talking about it, is that there's a weird little phenomena that occurred with this particular movie. So the movie itself came out, and it was immediately given extremely negative reviews. Critics criticized essentially for the B movie, kind of Z movie style elements, low grade cinematography, the extremely cheap budget, and of course the lack of any, for lack of better words, the lack of coherence in the actual film. And of course it was just, and the pacing was completely off. Some places it was too fast, some places it was too slow. And of course, the storytelling, from a writer's perspective, the classic things that you use as a writer, especially in screenwriting, were not used here. There's narrative elements that need to be used in order to set certain things up in order to make a thing coherent and to flow properly. Those were not used here. What this felt to me was it was a whole bunch of different scenes that were written and then just written independently. And then they took a whole bunch of things with this kind of one governing idea and then tried to stitch it all together into one movie.
Yep.
Which unfortunately really doesn't work. Now, I think personally, this would have worked better as a mini series, as a limited series. If you did 3 episodes.
Yeah, but you did it already. You did it twice. It was called V.
This is true. About the subtle alien takeover.
Yeah.
They still could have done it. It was for Canadian broadcasting. I wouldn't have had a problem with that. Just kind of rehashing old ideas and doing it new. But with breaking it up like that, I think it would have flowed a little bit. They would have been able to add a little bit better exposition instead of the exposition that they had, and focus a little bit more on better effects. Because then they wouldn't, with 3 episodes, with episodic, they wouldn't have needed to rely on them so heavily. And then they become a sticking point where it's wow, it's all over the place. They could have limited it down to the bare minimum. So basically bad points. But the weird thing about this movie, despite everybody hating it when it came out, then this thing releases, nobody likes it. But then it goes on the internet and it debuted via Google. And then all of a sudden, everybody likes it, which was weird.
High.
First of all, it was really interesting that you brought it up that it would be broken up into a TV series, because I'm looking at the director's IMDb, Adam Weissman, and he comes from TV.
I thought he did a couple of successful ones.
Yeah, he's done a bunch of Disney Channel, iCarly and Are You Afraid of the Dark? And I mean, he just has this huge list of all these TV shows. But in terms of movies, he directed maybe 3, total, and all are for TV movie. So he may have been stuck on that formula of this is how you do a TV series.
Yeah,
you're right. It feels like a TV series. That's what he has a long career of doing. He's clearly very successful as a TV director.
Doing what he knows.
But transitioning into that feature film element, it just didn't work.
Right. I got that feeling from it just from a writing perspective. It seemed like there was stuff that could have been expanded that would have been a lot better, would have served the picture a lot more positively, and things that could have been left out. But then again, like I said, it felt like a Frankenstein of a film. Just like you took 10 individual scenes that were all kind of semi-related, and then stitched them all together in order to make a kind of cohesive narrative, and then this overarching government plot, and it's just very shoddily done, very cheaply done. And I could not wrap my head around the fact that all of a sudden it gets released on Google, and then all of a sudden it blows up and develops a cult following. And the one thing that gets me in this, and it's not the fact that Gil Bellows is serviceable. He does a serviceable job. I mean, that's what he does. It's pretty standard. His standard hero standing against the alien invasion kind of thing. Charlie Sheen, a number of other actors have done it before. and Isabella Rossellini serves a purpose. I mean, and a legendary actress. Don't know why she was in this movie. I mean, it sucks.
Money.
I guess it's a money thing.
Yeah.
But Judd Nelson.
He really needed the money.
What? But I mean, yeah, but even when you need the money, you can still give a good performance. And Judd Nelson is amazing.
Is he though?
Yes. Judd Nelson is an amazing actor.
In what? Since when?
Since The Breakfast Club, dude.
Okay, I was gonna say, if you say The Breakfast Club, that was fucking almost 40 years ago.
He's still a magnificent actor, but I don't know what happened with this.
Prove it.
Really?
You said The Breakfast Club. That was 40.
We're not doing a Treat Williams this time. We're not going to do it again.
We're not doing a Treat Williams. Judd Nelson.
Because we have Treat Williams next week.
That's true. But the point is, I've seen Judd Nelson in a handful of things, and he was good in The Breakfast Club. That's it. It wasn't like he's this huge IMDb page full of just fucking great performances. He was shit in Boondock Saints 2. Total fucking garbage in that movie. I can't think of the last time I looked at Judd Nelson was like, wow, that was a great performance.
Okay, hang on a second. Hang on.
We're hanging on.
Obviously, Breakfast Club. He was great in that one. St. Elmo's Fire. St. Elmo's Fire, he was good. Then
but if he wasn't there, if it was somebody else in his role, I don't think it would have been.
Airheads.
He was in Airheads for like 10 minutes.
New Jack City.
5 minutes.
Oh, stop.
Again, you could take Judd Nelson out of Airheads and put in Treat Williams and got the same fucking performance.
He was good in Bad Kids Go to Hell.
Holy shit.
Like I'm sitting there, I'm looking at his filmography, and
Jane and Silent Bob Strike Back. He was great in that.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Fuck this asshole. Let's go back to the station house. Cornwallis is drunk.
I mean, look. Here's the thing. I'm not saying that he's terrible, but there's nothing really memorable about Judd Nelson. He's a forgettable character.
I think Jinju prefers his Nelson's Craig T-shaped.
Craig T-shaped.
Well, I mean, this is the thing about Judd Nelson, and I'll be honest, he's been writing The Breakfast Club. The Breakfast Club was his fourth film, and I love The Breakfast Club, and to me, it's John Hughes' best movie.
And he was good in there. I will say Judd Nelson was really good.
He really fleshed out his character. He was really good, and he kind of just wrote it.
Hey, man, whatever brings in the paycheck,
I'm not going to blame him. I'm not going to blame him because you get a lot of these guest spots and all this other kind of stuff, and a lot of that stuff equals a lot of money, and you just make a living doing it. So I'm not going to blame him one bit for writing that. But
ride the John Hughes train all the way to the bank.
I mean,
I can see why he would do this movie.
Sure. I can see why he would do this movie too, because he fucking needs to eat.
He was just so over the top. And it was not like you could have played a little thing like, oh, you're not human. And yeah, I get it. But it was just like, wow, you things don't really know what it's like to be human at all. It's just so obvious. It's like, okay, it's like, come on. I expect a little bit more.
When I watched this, when I first saw him, I thought, oh, this is discount Judd Nelson.
You weren't wrong. You weren't wrong.
Discount Judd Nelson performance. So I thought it was really, really weird. And this is what brought it really weird that it suddenly blew up on Google once it was released on the internet and then developed a cult following. And this brings up a really interesting question because this particular movie, despite all of the problems that it has, and as a filmmaker and as a writer, I would have been embarrassed to turn this thing in. I don't even know how this stuff gets past. A director, Eugene would have, if I had written this, Eugene would have read this and be like, what the fuck is this? What is
we
this?
Need to have a talk.
Yeah.
I would come into the office, there'd be a fucking intervention.
Yeah, right.
It was like, what are you doing?
JL, blink twice if you need help.
So, but given all of a sudden it blew up, that made me ask. So I started thinking about it. Cult following films. This movie has a cult following. It has a cult following as a result of the internet. A very like they released on the internet, and a small group of people kind of banded around it and were kind of like, and hail this video, like this, blah blah blah, whatever. But then I started realizing we don't really have cult movies anymore.
It's tough.
It's really hard because, for instance, this movie, people who like cult and underground films go out searching for them.
Right.
And that's why,
yeah,
they want that hidden gem. And when you look at a cult films aren't necessarily looking for good films. Cult films are looking for entertaining films. And this has some entertaining moments. It's a moments. Yeah, it's cheesy and the special effects or whatever, but it's a fun movie to watch. Like I said, crack open a couple of beers and we can have a drinking game and watching it. It sounds fun.
Yeah.
On it. So I can understand how it can have that cult following looking for something like that. Whereas with today, there's so much content out there. People are only looking for these straight good films,
and
which is fine.
You're right. That's one of the issues with it. The second issue with cult films, what really makes a cult film, and JL and I were talking about this the other day. We were talking about like the last cult film that I can remember was Boondock Saints. And you know what I mean? The first one. And what made that a cult film was the distribution on it, the way that it came out, right? It was a limited release. It was in like 2 fucking theaters for 2 days or some bullshit like that. And then it went to DVD sales. And it was through DVD sales. Well, now who does DVD sales really? I mean, who buys Blu-ray and DVDs now? You're like extreme collectors and whatnot, but all this shit is going to go streaming.
Right.
It's easily available. You don't have to really, well, I guess some of you do, but that was always kind of the way that like underground bands, you know what I mean? You look at the way that the underground, the bootleg tape trading used to happen back in the 80s. It's kind of the same thing when we're talking about film. You know, people used to have like their oh man, have you seen this 1984 film called Nail Gun? No, fucking hell, I got it on tape. Let's check this shit out. Or have you seen this movie that, I got it on VHS? That's kind of how it happens. Nowadays it's, oh man, I saw it. It sucks.
Yeah, because also on top of that is when you're part of that fan base that goes out searching for the underrated movies, you come across more bad movies than good movies. So you come across bad. And then when you finally hit that good movie, that movie that surprised you, like say Fight Club, for example, because Fight Club bombed in theaters, and then you go see, you're like, oh man, this is amazing. You cling on to that and you want your friends to go watch it. And at that time, it was so much harder to get content out. You just show up at your friend's house with a DVD and it's like, dude, check out this movie. I watched it. It's awesome. And then you sit and watch it versus like streaming where you have millions of movies at the drop of your hat.
Right.
See, and that's where I fell down or fell on it, is that the difference is this, is like, if you go back, like, originally, the original system was you make your movie, it gets distributed by a particular company. They get a theatrical run. It runs in theaters. And then it leaves theaters, and then that's it. And then it pretty much sits on the shelf until it can be released for home video. Even back then, it was either on beta or it was on VHS, and then of course Laserdisc, so on and so forth. So there was a lull. There was a period of time when the film was not accessible, except by those who managed to catch it in theaters, and then had to sit and wait, sometimes years, for it to finally be released for home video, and then they could get their own copy and bring it home. So nowadays,
it wasn't until the mid to late 90s where it started to become more of a system. Like you'd see it would be in a theater, it would run to the theater, then 6 weeks after it stopped, you could get the DVD.
There's the DVD. Once it became more more cost effective, people then could go, okay, we can do the DVD run like weeks after it leaves theaters, and we can maximize our profits if we have to wait a long time.
Right.
But now, and even then, you could still have a cult following, because then theater word of mouth would travel. And then people would pick up the DVD, but only those people that were enticed by it, and then they'd see it there, and then they'd share it amongst their friends. So we still have that kind of a lull period from where the critical reviews need to get out and reach the public. Nowadays, this does not exist.
It's instant.
It's instantaneous. Nowadays, we can have
a review on the film, your digital download. You could leave a review on Amazon or Netflix,
and now you can have a theatrical release, a DVD or Blu-ray release, and a streaming release simultaneously.
Right.
So now you could do it like bam, and the movie is all out there. But the big thing is streaming. And what it is that essentially what Eugene was bringing up, all the movies get dumped to streaming. And so now instead of hearing about something from either the critics or whatever, you have to go hunting for what you want. And now everybody's giving their own reviews. And I think people have begun to not really trust reviews because kind of as a rule of thumb, don't put a lot of stock into it because these are not critics. These are consumers that are basically giving their own personal opinion on it. Whereas I will not trust a consumer review as I will trust like a Roger Ebert review, or sorry, a Roger Ebert.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Siskel and Ebert and Roger Ebert, those guys were, I think they were too highbrow.
Yeah, I think so. Specifically them. But even when you talk about reviews, what do you see now on trailers? The Rotten Score tomato. This is scored fresh.
Right.
Yeah.
On it,
Right.
85%. Blah, 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 whatever. Whereas movies in the middle of the pack or they don't score well, you don't see it on there. And also now what you see in trailers is quotes from critics. The most insane thing ever. This is creepy. Versus trailers 10 years have that on it. So
yeah, they didn't.
We want to hear other people's perspective before
You might
going into it.
Sure, you might have heard like, oh, this got 2 thumbs up from Siskel and Ebert. That might be, you might hear that. But yeah, generally speaking, there was no Rotten Tomatoes back then.
Right.
You didn't get the fresh score.
It's that lack of downtime that I think has changed the landscape of it. So now it's I don't think that, or maybe what it is that cult films, like how they become cult films, it's just changed. We can still get them, but it's good that like how it comes about is going to be different. And
yeah, so thinking about filmmaking in general, it used to be a rich person's game. You had to have money to be able to make a film. You know what I mean? Because if you think about what it costs to get a good film camera and then film stock.
Right.
And with everything going digital now, and hell, I'm able to edit a film right back here in my own house. I don't need some big huge sound studio. I don't need all this shit. I can do everything I need to do right back there. Eugene has a sub $10,000 setup that he can go out and film a feature-length film.
Oh hell, I remember working on projects that they had to have the dark bag out so that they could change the film reels and protect it from the sunlight. I remember working on a few projects when that was still a thing. Long time ago, like we're talking, this was like 02 and 03. I think it was like that, and it was like the last. I haven't seen them. I haven't seen it since, and I've been on a number of projects, and I haven't seen like they bust out the bag because we got to develop the film and get it all set, so we have to protect it.
Right.
So
the point I'm trying to make is that it's much easier to produce a film. You have a lot of content is just exploded because hell, you got people that are shooting films in their fucking iPhone.
Yeah.
So content is just, it's out there. There's a lot of it. So that is in itself another reason why it's so difficult to have the cult following, the cult status. It could be something that's cult film worthy, but because the genre or the medium is just so oversaturated, it's tough to sift through all that stuff.
It really is, because it's, instead of getting like that, the one that, man, it just somehow had the bad timing in the theaters or just bad. When you think about the films of the 90s, because it took so much money to make those films, and usually you had like a certain standard on it, but you have people who they'll go and they'll buy a $200 camera and go, I can do a feature film, and you can get it on Amazon Prime. I've seen it.
Yep.
And and people don't want to scroll through films that are just that bad. I'm not talking about like, bad movie theater film. I'm talking about films that are like,
hi, Mark.
Yeah, hi, Mark. Even The Room has a certain level of production quality. That
I did not hit her. I did not.
I did not.
So Aaron says, if Jail Calls 2003 a long time ago again, I may kill myself.
It was a medium time ago.
It was a medium, I guess. Almost 20 years ago. Oh, God, that made me feel old. That made me feel old just saying that. And I see Charlie Welch has joined the chat. Good to see you, Charlie Welch.
Hey, Charlie.
Another one of our amazing supporters. And, of course, the only man on the internet you never make a bet with. Good to see you. And Extra J is in the house. Good to see you, Extra J. Thanks so much for being here. We do appreciate it. So and Raven Darkstar brings up, some of us can't do streaming. And that's true.
Yeah,
streaming
that's true.
Streaming is still not a ubiquitous option for people. So they rely on DVDs. And because, I mean, the theaters, honestly, I think theaters are going the way of the dodo. running a theatrical, doing a theatrical. Aside from just like the sit and eat, like which is a combination restaurant and movie. I think your classic cinema, I think, unless it's like maybe even the dollar theaters, but I think that they're kind of going away. They just can't compete.
I disagree on, it depends on the type of movie. I believe that like 80% of films can be streaming, whatever, I'm not going to see. But when you have certain movies, like one, for example, I'm really excited to see the new Top Gun movie that's coming out. That's a movie, real IMAX cameras mounted in real F-18s. I'm going to go to the theater to see that. I want that full theater experience.
There are some films that you got to see. You got to see some of these movies in the theater and get that, But I mean, I can kind of understand where JL's coming from too, because I've got a home theater right upstairs, big screen television, surround sound, and all that shit. It's all good, and all we don't have, the popcorn machine, but whatever. And it's always taken me a lot to go to the fucking theater anyway, but I understand what you're saying. I thought the whole pandemic was going to just be like the final nail in the coffin for movie theaters. But I think I was 100% incorrect, because I think the pandemic was what actually saved movie theater business. Because what was the first thing that the majority of people did once restrictions started releasing? It went to the fucking theater. It went to the movie.
Back to the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the theater business has the pandemic to thank for the,
And here I would have thought that we would have seen an uptick in the drive-in experience,
right?
Which is an experience that I miss. I think that there's
there are still a few drive-ins around town. There's one in Dallas, one in Fort Worth. There's a couple across the states. Drive-ins in the summertime here in Texas are just a no-no, but whatever. It's 150 degrees. Let's go to the drive-in. Why? I can go to the fucking theater with air conditioning.
Well, plus on top of that, when you talk about like the theater experience, it's so easy to get distracted when it's like you can have a home theater, but you have your computer, you have your phone, versus when you're in an actual theater, you're not going to open up your phone. There is no distraction.
No, but somebody else is, and it's going to make me want to throw them down the fucking stairs.
I will fucking yell at them. I fucking pisses me off when someone in the phone in the middle.
Oh man, I think it was Harry Potter. One of the Harry Potters, like the seventh or the first, second. I can't remember. It was one of the I think it was 7 part 1, and we're in the theater, and I'm there with my girlfriend at the time, and we're watching this, and this kid's back there yakking on his phone. I look back to say, hey, do me a favor, put the phone away, be quiet, let us enjoy the movie, please. I was polite with him the first time. Turn back to the movie. Not but 2 minutes later, I said, dude, if you don't shut the fuck up, I'm going to throw you off this fucking rail. I turn back to the movie. This little bitch gets up and goes, gets fucking security.
What a bitch.
And I see Night Noodlers join the chat. Good to see you, Night Noodler. Thank you so much for being here, bud. But yeah, I think that the landscape has changed a little bit. Maybe cult films haven't gone away, but definitely how they are made has definitely changed. But then again, that comes with the advent of new, cheaper technology and getting the product to people faster. I would say the days of the old, the days of The Thing, how The Thing became a cult film. These days are long gone. So, but cult films, I mean, you gotta love them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd actually like to ask the audience, what's your favorite cult film? There's a lot of great ones out there. We talked about things like The Thing. We talked about even some other films that have come up, like Starship Troopers, Donnie Darko, Fight Club. These movies have just kind of come up. They didn't do well in theaters, but also had kind of a resurgence coming back. So what is your favorite cult film? There are a lot of good ones.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. And some of them end up getting sequels because of the cult status.
That's true.
And then the sequels are terrible.
Boondock Saints. What?
Definitely let us know down in the comments below or in the live chat, of course, at weekinhorror@gmail.com. And I see a couple of them are popping in there. The Thing is definitely one of my absolute favorites.
Yep.
I see, wrote in the last name, said Miracle Mile. And Travis Brown said The Fifth Element.
Really a cult film?
I don't think it did well in theaters.
Maybe
I don't
not.
think it did well in theaters either, but I mean, it exploded home release.
It did,
And
yeah.
then Sarcasm says Donnie Darko. Oh, yeah.
I know Donnie Darko bombed. It made like $500,000 its theatrical release. It was really.
It's not a movie that you would think to go to the theater for.
Yeah, I think it was
had bad press. Yeah,
and it got a sequel, S Darko, which was not very good.
Yes, the sequel is so bad that probably you're the only person who knew about it.
Charlie Wolf says The Crow.
Yeah,
I don't think The Crow was I don't think so, because it had all that hype with the accident
with Brandon Lee. With Brandon Lee.
So I don't think that. I think The Crow had that going for it. Unfortunately, I think it probably would have been a cult film classic, because I don't think anybody really gave a shit about that movie until that accident happened.
It's kind of like lingered in culture though, because it's still like a staple today.
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting a remake.
Is it a reboot or is it a continuation? I can't remember.
I think it might be a remake. I think it's a remake with Bill Skarsgård. So I guess we'll see.
Oh yeah, I saw that they cast. Yeah, just saw it. Yeah, kind of curious to see how it's going to work out. I hope Bill does not let them do any kind of firearm play. Fucking hell!
Wow.
on that note,
I mean, it's true, it's Bill.
Johnny, what do we have next?
All right. Up next, we've got the April 29th, 1981, the best year ever film called The Beyond. Roll that beautiful film footage.
Beyond footage?
Yeah, that's better.
You are Liza, aren't you?
Yes.
My name is Emily. I've been looking for you. Go back to where you came from and hurry. Leave this place. "60 years ago, everybody in this hotel disappeared. Every last person. A painter called Spike, who lived here, closeted in his room, had found a key.
Tell me, with all those accidents, you think you'll give it up now?
I couldn't do that if I wanted to. Well, I won't give in. Who else is here?
There's nobody here.
I can feel a presence. Somebody else is in here.
Oh, some weird story that Emily told me about room 36.
Emily? Who's Emily?
The blind girl that lives in the old house by the crossroads.
Yes! That house has been abandoned for the last 50 years.
But that's not true. It's not possible. I was there.
This house was constructed on one of the Woe be unto him who opens one of the 7 gateways to hell, because through that gateway, evil will invade the world.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
I love like the Ninja Gaiden-esque freaking bass band music that's going on there. I feel like it should be throwing some stars and shit. All right, so Beyond is a supernatural horror film directed by Lucio Fulci from an origin story created by some other Italian person who I can't. Dardano Sacchetti, Spaghetti. Eddie Spaghetti wrote this, starring Katarina McCall and David Warbeck. Plot follows a woman who inherits a hotel in rural Louisiana because, of course, it's got to be Louisiana, right? That's where all the shit happens. That was once the site of a horrific murder. And as you saw, it's a gateway to hell because, everything has to be a gateway to hell. And as you can also see, this shit, as Eugene would say, gets pretty fucking real pretty quick.
It was real out the gate.
This motherfucker said, no, we don't need any kind of expository bullshit. Let's jump fucking head first into this motherfucker.
I swear, I love Fulci when I love his style. Whenever there's something graphic we need to show. Okay, it's always like boom, and the camera's just like right in there,
up in there, porn angle.
What's the closest we can get?
It's like stick the camera right in there.
Yeah,
it opens up the whole sequence when it opens up, and the warlock dude is getting like whipped to death with like chains and shit, and then they dump lye all over his ass. He's like, it's just like, and then they crucify him. And then they dump lye all over him. He's just like melting and shit. It's just like every time the chain hits, bam, and the camera's right in there. Bam, camera's like, I fucking love it how it just drives the camera in there and sells the whole thing. Because if you stayed wide on a lot of these things, they probably would look kind of goofy.
They would look
but
silly.
when you get in super close and you can only make out like specific details that sells it. I think it was a solid way. Fulci found a really brilliant way to overcome the limitations of the effects at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the practical effects in this film. I gotta say, even as goofy as they can be, as some of them look, I love practical effects.
The eye, the ripple, right. I was like, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, that's not that, but it's still graphic as fuck, and I was like.
That's not how this works. It's
still gruesome.
Because the thing is, like, I can always appreciate the effort of practical effects.
Yes,
even if it's like this, you can tell it's a dummy head and all this other kind of stuff. There's still something about this real, like,
bad practical
kind of
effects are better than bad CGI effects.
Every day. I mean, especially when zombies. I mean, the same when they're crucifying him. When they have the camera above it, they got to zoom in on it because they have to see. You could tell. His hand, the actor's the live hand is like sticking out of the ground, and then the arm, but the arm is like slate gray, and like that the live hand is there. It's like, oh, that was a person. Then you have problems like that, but I mean, what you got to work with what you've got,
right?
And the blood effects were impressive. I really dug where Fulci went with this, and the camera never shies away, which it forces you got to get in there, and despite. You may be able to go like that doesn't look real, but your brain still has to.
Yes, watch it. Yeah,
if you're going to look away, you got to look away from the entire movie. So that's all that's going to fill the frame. So I like that he forces the audience to get in there with him, and you can't look away lest you miss something or defeat the purpose of watching a movie.
Right.
Now, one thing was really cool. This movie was the second in a trilogy. So Fulci's like Gates of Hell trilogy, and a lot of fantastic directors have their kind of trilogies they do, or their thematic trilogies. Carpenter did it as well with his Apocalypse trilogy. Bava has done it as well, and the other fantastic Argento did as well with his Three Mothers. So this one is part of the Gates of Hell trilogy. The Beyond was the second of those, and this was followed by House by the Cemetery, which is one of my favorites. I absolutely love it, and it'd been a long time since I've seen The Beyond, but going back and watching this. I had forgotten how good this was, how particularly, nuanced this movie was. And there was something that I picked up on. If you go back, and I kind of wanted to get your guys' take on this. and I don't know if this is a cultural thing. Okay, it's nothing bad about this. It's just a deep inspiration I found in Italian horror. If you go back and you look at Bava's work, you go at Deodato's work, you look at Fulci's work, you look at any of these major, especially the major horror directors. Throughout this movie and throughout House by the Cemetery, and I think, and if I remember correctly, City of the Living Dead, which came before this one, and looking at all of these movies, there is a distinct kind of, I would say, influence of medieval Christianity in either it's in the set pieces, in the architecture, in everything they say. That there's in the ways that things are caught with both light and shadow and color, and there's evocative imagery throughout that pretty much speaks to the ancient cultural aspects of like I would say of Italy, of ancient Rome. So we know just from history alone that Italy is steeped in the history of obviously the Vatican and the Roman Empire. Mm-hmm. And there are certain, and of course, medieval Christianity, the works of like, you said a name and I totally just lost it. Inferno.
Dante Alighieri.
Dante Alighieri. So, and I've noticed this throughout all of these films. And is that just me, or because I think it lends itself to the horror genre so beautifully, but I think it's only.
Well, I mean, when we're talking about the Divine Comedy, that fucking, if you go back and look at the Inferno portion of that, that's really fucking scary shit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's one of the oldest Christian horror novels of all time. I mean, why not go back to that? Why not continue to draw from that? Why not continue to draw from Vatican, where, you know, you supposedly have the city of the dead underneath Vatican City? And absolutely, that kind of shit, when you're talking about spiritual whatnot and who's that, when you go back to the big bad daddy of, you know, God versus the devil. I mean, why not use what's already there? I mean, there's a lot of shit that's there. There's a whole bunch of source material that you can just kind of pick and choose from. Why not beat that dead horse?
And not to mention the fact of how much access you have to it. We think of, oh, if we want to go to the Vatican, we got to get a plane and all this other kind of, it's a lot of effort. But I mean, imagine if you grew up like next door.
Yeah.
Where you could just walk out in St. Peter's Square.
Right.
And you can
this is an Italian horror film.
Yeah. You can see all that stuff. That's just that's
the backyard.
Dallas.
That's what's interesting about the vast majority of Italian horror. You know, going back and like kind of looking at what these are about. If you're looking at what they're, especially Italian horror, you're looking at things like, you know, aspects of basically it was aspects of medieval Christianity and the concepts of eye for an eye and hell and heaven and God and the devil and demons, stuff like this. But you also have things like witchcraft and supernatural, like ghosts and possessing entities. But then you also have aspects where they will take aspects of Christianity or Catholicism and they will twist it, they will pervert it, like in very much the cannibal horror films. Mm-hmm. And all of these take this kind of, I found that even in like Cannibal Holocaust and Zombie, and I've discovered in Cannibal Ferox that there is still a lot of imagery within these that takes from this cultural experience of ancient Rome and ancient Italy in this time. And I think that only the Italian directors have been able to kind of like master that. And I think it's because they're immersed in it. I mean, that's what you grew up in. Like, you know, they're immersed in it, and that's their environment, and it translates over into their horror films. But in any other ones, even the spaghetti westerns, if you look, and it's not so much because they're trying to convey like the Old West, so you're not going to get a lot in the set design, but in the caricatures. Mm-hmm. And the way people move and the way people, you know, distinguish themselves into the camera and to each other, you will see aspects of those characters, those biblical characters, throughout these. And I found that to be incredibly, I guess it was the first time I picked up on this and found it was like, wow, there's some really deep inspirations there. And you can really only find that in Italian horror, which kind of, I think, raises it, in my opinion.
I mean, you think about it, you write about what you know, you create from what you know. So if this stuff is in your backyard and these are the stories that you're going to be told, you're going to focus way more on things like the Bible and the religion, stuff like that, when you're coming from, regardless on your actual religious belief, if that's such a part of your faith or not. It's so in your face that you're going to draw inspiration from. It's going to affect your storytelling. It's just like certain things. A lot of Louisiana filmmakers will do stuff on like voodoo culture because that's what they grew up over there. So it's just
using Lafayette as like a backdrop.
Right.
Is a constant.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
On it. So I mean that's what I think. That's why it doesn't surprise me at all that you would see a lot of this context from.
So Aaron brings up a point. Is like he says. Then again, is it just resource filmmaking? And I think that's a combination of it. You use what you've got, but as far as writing goes and telling stories, you tell what you know. Write what you know. Don't write about stuff that you don't know, because then you're going to be making up on the fly and trying to express things that you really have no concept of. Write what you know. Write about places that you know. I can tell you in the stuff that I've written, there are places, or there are locations, there are characters that are in like the scripts I've written and the stories that I've written that take personal inspiration. This personal inspiration from my experience. It was either a house I used to live in, or it was a person that I used to know, or it was a thing that I saw at one point and I've incorporated into the story.
Yeah,
and so you write what you know.
But that's where especially scary stories in horror films, that's where that shit comes from. It comes from your irrational fear of your bed. Oh, why am I afraid of my bed? Well, because when I go to sleep and some fucking knife wielding murderer kills me, chases me and kills and whatnot. That's where good horror films or good horror stories are born. Is from your just everyday fear, whatever you were afraid of as a kid. I was afraid of this, or I was afraid of that. Let's make a story out of it. And why was I afraid of it? Well, because maybe I was afraid of it because it's just where good storytelling comes from.
Yeah, and if you think based off of your fears, you grow it up and say it's such a religious area.
Yeah,
that's gonna play into some of your fears, because there's something scary. There is something scary about things that you cannot just destroy in an earthly. You can't shoot it. You can't blow it up. You can't. If it's some demon, the devil, angel, whatever, that's going to supersede any of that. You're actually helpless against a demon. With the demon in the context of, like, say, Christianity, there's nothing you can do.
Right, except, pray and put it into God's hands, and hopefully Jesus comes down with a sword of fire and
and do nothing.
Nothing. Oh shit.
And I get the sarcasm because ex-Catholics make the best religious horror, because they have a firm grasp of what it is and what is scary about it, how to twist it.
Oh man!
And looking at this, and whether it's a combination of resource filmmaking, you shoot what you know, like look for architecture that you're familiar with, that you know how to shoot it. Look at stories that you know how to tell, and stories that are steeped in what you were raised in or what you were familiar with growing up. And I think Fulci had a grasp of this that lends itself, especially in this trilogy, in the Beyond, House by the Cemetery, City of the Dead. Fulci had a grasp of this, I think, actually, I would say better than his contemporaries. Whereas each one had their own level of genius. There was a poetic, I would say, almost new. There was a poetic nuance that Fulci brought to his films, where he could have scenes of extreme visceral brutality and gore, juxtaposed against some of the most sublime imagery and evocative imagery. I loved that sequence of her driving up that highway through the Keys, of her driving up that, and then the girl with the blind girl with the dog standing square in the middle of the road, and then not even reacting when the car's like right in front of her. And just the lead up to that, and her reaction is like, is this person like what? I love that whole sequence, and it was beautifully shot.
Oh, and this is the thing that I really love about like Italian horror is you'll get the graphic, you'll get the stuff that you can't look away, and then they'll lay it on top of beautiful cinematography. And I'm not talking about the way like just the gore is shot, but I'm talking about just overall color scheme, like you said, talking the backdrop on it. So it's this weird duality in terms of you have some of these beautiful shots. Beautiful, like Suspiria to me is one of the best shot films ever. These beautiful cinematography and use of color, but then you get this gory aspect that hits on top of it, and so it's kind of it clashes in a good way. And that's one of the things I've really appreciated with Italian.
It kind of encompasses, I would say, both life itself and I would say the religious experience. that many, you could say, although many people would argue, there are many aspects of religion, many aspects of Catholicism they're innately beautiful. Just the colors and the spectacle and all of that just has an inherent beauty to it. But then there are some, if you dive deep, there's some really nasty graphic shit within that, and you have to take them both. You have to have both in order to have the whole thing. Life is the exact same way. And you can say that to any life experience, that life is essentially long stretches of boredom, with extreme moments, kind of like jumping in there from time to time. And I like that they expressed it that way, because it's kind of like the human experience there. Long stretch, long stretches where we try to find the absolute best in everything that we're doing, but nothing's really happening, and then all of a sudden, bam, something crazy happens, and then we got to deal with this, and then we move on to the next moment. It's war and it's peace, back and forth, and it never stops. And I think that, just by going by this trilogy alone, I think Fulci had a real grasp on this, both as a filmmaker and as a storyteller, and recognize that this narrative plays across, no matter what country you're in, this narrative is recognizable. And I think that's why Italian horror has really lasted and it's been as profound as it was, not just for its graphic depictions of violence and blood and guts and all that stuff, but in the way it was shot. Just like you said, Argento's Three Mothers trilogy was brilliant and beautifully shot with, the way things were framed. Same thing with Fulci. The way the Beyond is framed, his character placements within the scene, the way things were lit, everything conveys something. And I just think that it puts it above and beyond. Huh? Yeah.
Okay. I like what Rodno last name has to say.
Long stretches of boredom punctuated by horror. So, sex with jail? Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much what it's like. Pretty much what it's like. You got to get the heart up. You got to get the heart rate up somehow.
Whoa, JL. Whoa. Not that kind of stream.
No, I said you got to get the heart.
Yeah. That's what you said at first.
Yeah, that is what I said.
That's not where I thought you were going.
I said, you got to get the heart rate up somehow.
No, that's not what you said first. That was what you corrected yourself. First, you got to get the heart up first. Like, wait a minute. Look at
not wrong.
Oh, ouch. But we don't have what Sarkaz says. City of the Dead had a clear plot and direction. The Beyond seems like a cash grab written on the fly after yesterday's dailies. Which is odd, because the lead actress who was in all three of these, and I think originally she wasn't going to be in the Beyond, but then she decided that she was going to, and that's do what now?
And she needed the paycheck.
She needed the paycheck. Catherine McCall, and that she said this one was her favorite of the three to shoot. So
I can see that, because this one looked like it was a lot of fun because of all the the guts and the special effects and whatnot. Not saying the others didn't have it. This one just looked more fun. I mean, squeezing the guy's face and the eyeball goes this way, but that was cool.
It was like he smushed it out of his head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Dave Cernick. Dave Cernick's in the chat. What's up? Good to see you. Thank you so much. And of course, I saw CPM. Good to see you as well. Says that is not what it sounded like, JL.
They heard it too.
I stand by what I said.
The second time.
And Vernon Nolan says this is another example where the low res of VHS can improve a film. And yep. I would agree. It definitely, the old style definitely lends itself to that. Gotta get the heart up. Gets tougher with age. Thank you very much, Charlie Welch. I appreciate that.
Go back and read what Charlie Welch said. That's what we all heard you say. I'm telling you. Oh man. Do we really want to end the good time we're having to go to the film we're going to talk about next?
We have one more to talk about.
All right.
I mean, there's not that much time left, so we're not going to spend too much time on it.
Thank God. So before we get to that train wreck of a film, I would like to ask all of you what your favorite Gates of Hell entry is. You got 3 to choose from, so let us know down in the comments, in the side chat, or weekinhorror@gmail.com.
You got City of the Living Dead.
City of the Living Dead. You've got Beyond.
House. The Beyond and House by the Cemetery.
House by the Cemetery, yeah. So
before going back and rewatching this, House by the Cemetery was my favorite. I loved House by the Cemetery. I thought it was brilliant. This one, but this one's now close. So
I just like to say, road no last name. If your Fulci lasts more than 6 hours,
I got me a Fulci
on. What is going on here? Yeah.
Travis Brown's got some love for House by the Cemetery. Absolutely. All right. So we got one more to talk about. So let's see if we can power through this one, because I'm trying. I don't want us to end on a down note, but let's just find out, Here we go. So this one released April 30th, 2010, and it's the remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street. Let's check out that trailer. Johnny's like, what are you doing?
You open this door, Kruger! What do you think I did? I didn't do anything!
I'm having these dreams. And there's this man. And he's burned.
Fall asleep.
Never sleep again.
You have nothing to worry about. This won't hurt one little bit.
Okay. Okay. So doing just a quick breakdown on this one, just, because that's what we do here. So directed by Samuel Bayer, screenplay written by Wesley Strick and Eric Hesserer, and starring Jackie Earle Haley as Freddy Krueger, Kyle Gallner, Rooney Mara, Katie Cassidy, Thomas Dekker, and Kellen Lutz. All right. Obviously problematic. I will say this. The trailer is deeply misleading, and whoever cuts trailers like that, I actually when I saw this trailer, I was kind of like, holy shit, this could be really good, because the trailer's cut great. But I went back and I hadn't seen it, because this movie came out so long ago, 2010, almost 12 years ago. No, 12 years ago, and wow. This movie is fucking bad.
This is bad on a whole different level, because they try to recreate so many of the iconic shots
and failed,
like pressing up against.
That was just
bad CGI.
That was
really bad. The blood killer where she falls through the ceiling. It was terrible. So you recreate these shots, but you execute them poorly. On top of that,
Tony, I'm sorry, but we're about to shit all over this one.
Yeah, and this actually got me. And I had to watch the two scenes side by side, and it was the scene when Nancy's in the tub.
Yep.
So, and then the glove comes up, and then they're like that the original Wes Craven one, that was brilliant. And it was not just how it was shot, because they're shot virtually identically, just the whole sequence. But the difference was Robert Englund, because even in that moment, just the hand, just like it coming out and coming up towards, and then the knock on the door, and then the drop away, the real slide, just whoop. I don't know what Robert did, but just in the physical performance of his arm, in the way he controlled the glove, and that was better than this.
It's because nobody fucking asked for this. Nobody wanted this to be remade. Nobody.
Nobody asked for. And another thing is this: Wes Craven wasn't even consulted on this.
Yeah, that's a bad sign. Okay. The one thing that really aggravated me the most, despite the fact that they had planned something grandly different for this movie. And when you read up on it, you read it because you read about what the best intentions were. But then when the thing comes out, not to mention that the fact that there's a scene or two that's in the trailer that did not make it into the final cut, which I always find super fucking annoying. The dude who's up on the deal, and then he falls down, and like that didn't make it into the final cut, which really pissed me off. I don't like that. That's lazy, in my personal opinion, because then it's deceptive. But the biggest issue on this one is that when the movie came out and everybody shit on it, Robert Englund didn't like it. Nobody liked the movie when it came out.
I like how Robert Englund, how he was gracious about it, though. He wasn't like fuck. He wasn't like Doug Bradley and oh god, Clive Barker. Whenever they're talking about Hellraiser, the first non-Doug Bradley remake, when Clive Barker said, "This isn't even a stain off my ass." Robert Englund was like, "Well, it's trying to do Jackie Earle Haley. I really like him. He's a great actor."
He's supported his casting. He's a big proponent of his casting because of his physicality and the fact that he can convey deep emotions like that.
Right.
And you go by his filmography, Jackie Earle Haley is extremely talented.
He is
a very nuanced actor and very underrated.
And that just goes to show how difficult it is to do a movie like this when you have such an iconic character like Freddy Krueger. And Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger.
Right.
There will never be anybody to do it anywhere near as good as Robert Englund.
I think that's probably why he showed up, and why Robert Englund showed up as Freddy in that episode of The Goldbergs. Because there's a sequence where the mom falls asleep and she has a dream, and he shows up, and it doesn't turn into a horror scene, but he shows up. And that was kind of his way of doing let's go out on a good note. Let's go out on this is how it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
But the thing that got me, that really aggravated me, was that the filmmakers had all of these intentions when this movie came out. They had an idea for the look. They had the idea for what Freddy was going to look like, and they wanted to convey certain aspects. I thought that what they were planning, the best laid plans I have ever heard for a remake. And none of them happened, and nobody addressed it after the fact. Only sequence I think they managed to pull off, because they second guessed everything else. The script was second guessed, the casting was second guessed, and the everything was second guessed on this, except for one scene. They wanted the exploration of the micro nap thing, and they basically brought that in and just kind of like brought it into the movie as a thing, because they wanted to do the camera effect they wanted to do the effect of blending reality with the dream and shifting back and forth between that. Which I thought was actually kind of cool. The idea that, because it's something that Wes Craven couldn't have pulled off back then.
I would see it. If there was one takeaway from this movie that is actually not bad, it's the idea of the micro sleep. Because if you've ever stayed up for 24, 30, 40 plus hours, micro naps are a thing that will start kicking in on that. So I thought that was a really cool concept, instead of having you didn't know they were asleep, they're in some deep sleep, but that couple of 5 seconds, you're just close your eyes for a second. So I really like that. But going back onto what the best laid plans are, is this: in filmmaking, you have 3 scripts. You have the script you write, you have the script you shoot, and you have the script you edit.
Yep.
And they're all different. They're all, and as filmmaker, it always starts grand because in your head and you're writing it, it can be here, and then you shoot, it comes here.
Yeah.
And then when you edit, it gets here.
Yeah.
Well, so the problem that you're talking about is a problem of lens, right? So when you're talking about it, this is not like writing a book. You know what I mean? Like when you write a book, most of the time is you and your editor. That's it. You put out your first draft, which you know is going to be trash.
Yeah.
Your second draft, your editor is probably the one you really give to your editor. Your editor's like, no, this move, blah 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 blah. And then you know when you put it out, it's generally only going to be two real influences, with yours being the biggest influence on how the story is told. Now, when we're talking about filmmaking, you've got so many different avenues of lens that are going to happen through. The lensing is going to happen throughout because you're going to have a writer, a director, a producer, an editor, and then actors. And you know what I mean? Some things affect certain people one way. This shot affects, you know what I mean? It's just so many different ways that this story is going to be altered or changed or influenced from page to screen.
Right.
That when you don't take that into account, when you don't have a clear-cut vision of what you want as a writer, director, and producer, you're going to end up with a film like this, garbage.
And also on top of the fact, it's like this film hits this middle, it hits like a no man's land because it's not like a shot-for-shot remake of it,
right?
But it's not enough of its own to be just its own, just huge, just creation that just happened to use Freddy Krueger. It kind of gets in this middle, so it's like it kind of keeps nudging you, like, hey, remember this great scene?
Right.
Remember this great scene? Well,
yeah.
Cool. What do you bring to the table? Oh, I don't have anything else.
Nothing. That's all I've got.
It also really aggravated me when it was really aggravating. I'll answer actually I want to answer this question first. Is that wrote it in last name brought up? Was it ruined in editing? Yes. This movie is edited atrociously. The pacing is all over the place. It takes too long in some areas. It almost has a feeling of a movie that doesn't really know what it wants to be. And I think that comports with what Eugene was saying. Is it doesn't want to know if it wants to be the original or wants to be a remake. And it just because it keeps harkening back to the cool stuff that Wes Craven did, and then doesn't bring anything new to the table. The editing was atrocious, and another thing that really got me was the plans for Freddy. The original idea was to really convey him as a burn victim. So they bring in like hundreds of photos of legitimate burn victims, really, really hard to look at stuff. And they sit down with the special effects crew, is like, we want to replicate this for this character to make him really look like this. And according to reports, and I can only say that this is what they reported, test audiences found Freddy too difficult to look at. It's too hard. And they decided then to pull back, which is why we got the version that looks the way we look, where it's a lot in shadow, and they really focus on only kind of like a couple of like scenes. They don't really focus too hard, but otherwise they had a plan to go full bore, and then they decided not to because I guess politics or whatever, or trying to make as much money as possible. They wanted as many people to do it. And of course, if you don't want to look at the villain, it kind of defeats the purpose. I kind of get that mentality. I would have gone for broke. If you want to reinvent it and make it look different, bite the bullet and really redesign the character to make him fucking scary or make him so horrific that you're forced to look at it, much like Fulci did. You're forced to do it in order to keep with the story. At least have that visceral reaction. Bank on that.
Right.
I would have taken that over this fucking bullshit that we got.
Oh, wholeheartedly. If somebody tested one of my films, they're like, oh, the villain is too scary to look at, or he makes me sick looking at it, I won.
Yeah. Yes.
That's why. I mean, and to kind of bring this home for us, that very first reaction when off that script I wrote, I don't want to spoil. I'm not going to spoil too much, but at the script I wrote, and then we turned it over to whoever's reading, and whoever read it, and that person read it, and they came back and says, "This scene in here is too much. We can't do." It's like, we can't do this, and Eugene knows what I'm talking about. Okay, that this scene is too much. So I wrote a script, and got it to Eugene. Eugene signed off. It's like, this is good, and we're gonna put this forward. So he puts it out there. And then you remember last night I was talking with Johnny, and Johnny said there was that lull period. I think that this is what caused it, because they read a particular scene in this very graphic movie that I wrote.
No, not at all.
and they read this scene. It's like, we can't do this.
We
And
can't
I'm
shoot
like,
this, JL.
we can't shoot this. And I'm like, you sure as fuck can shoot this. You are too afraid to shoot this, is what it is. And
Not
that's
us.
not my
Not me. Not Eugene.
Not us. We're not too afraid to shoot it.
You're like, go for it.
They're too
Get
afraid
in
to
there.
shoot it. They're
Give me
too
the
afraid to shoot
Scorsese
it.
angles.
They're too afraid to shoot it, and that's not my fucking problem, because you want the visceral react. The worst reaction you can get from a horror audience is nothing at all. You either wanted this, you either wanted to love it or you wanted to hate it, which is why Malignant was good. Malignant was fantastic because people either fucking just could not stand that movie or they fucking loved it. I want either one of those.
You have to be uncomfortable every now and again in your movie watching experience. Not even just in horror, just in general.
Yeah.
In general, when you're looking at film, you've got to be uncomfortable every now and again.
Right.
Even in like kids' movies, there's some uncomfortable moments.
Watership Down.
Well, that whole thing is uncomfortable.
because the thing is this: you remember art that makes you feel, no matter what that feeling is, love, hate, disgust, whatever. Art that makes you feel is the art that stays with you.
Why do people like Jodie Foster in The Accused? Because that was a graphic scene.
Yes.
If you've seen The Accused, that is a very difficult scene to watch, and you'll never forget it once you've seen it.
Monica Bellucci in Irreversible.
Right.
Yeah.
That was rough. But
look at Hereditary.
Hereditary. She didn't
they didn't pull any punches with that motherfucker. I wish they did.
If you take something like Terrifier on it,
right?
Regardless, people love that movie for the gore, or they hate the movie and they can't stand it. I don't know anybody who's ever watched Terrifier and was like,
okay, I guess
it's all right. No, it's the reaction is visceral in either direction, and that's what you're looking for. That's what you got to hit, because that's how life hits. That's what you want. That's what you want to encompass. And I think that it was either, I'm going to flat out say it, this was either ballless fucking producers who were not willing to go with you, who found the original ideas like, no, who put money before craft.
Michael Bay.
Right. And the problem is this. I understand putting money before craft when you're making movies at like the independent level. When you're making movies like our level, and there's certain things you have to, money's a serious thing. But when you are platinum, when you're like Platinum Dunes, and you are fucking Michael Bay, there is no such thing, or New Line Cinema. There is no such fucking thing as we need to worry about the money on this. This remake despite our hate of it, is the highest grossing fucking movie of the entire Nightmare franchise.
And that's just sad.
They were going to make the money anyway, but they did not trust.
Well, but you have to understand this, right? So you've got to look at the business aspect, the business side of filmmaking, and there's a term that gets thrown around in filmmaking called bankability. What does it mean to be bankable? Is this movie bankable? Every production meeting you sit down with a studio, where is the bankability? Where can we bank on this film? That's a huge thing. There's a reason why Tom Cruise gets a lot of movies and gets a lot of money for the movies he does, because he's considered very bankable.
Right.
Films. If we were making a film and we went to Paramount Studios and said, "Hey, we got this movie we want to make. Tom Cruise is signed on to be the lead. We're going to get that film made."
Yeah. Right.
Because we have that star, that attachment to it. Now, if we take the same film and say, "Oh, I got this new guy," like, I don't know, the risk versus reward, the bankability is not there. So when you take a look at A Nightmare on Elm Street, if Jackie Earle Haley is your bankable actor in this, which he was a most recognized actor in this, and he just happened to be the villain, but Freddy Krueger. Even Jackie Earle Haley he's not a for sure. He's not a guaranteed thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So Michael Bay making this film, or being part of the production squad of this film, I understand why they want to make sure that they're going to make some money on the return on this, being cautious up front about putting too much money into it and not getting enough on the back end on the return.
And I get that. But this is where this comes, like Rodin Ellis brings up. Perhaps they edited it with the wrong audience in mind.
Yes.
I don't think it was just editing. the entire production, number one, did not trust the fandom. They didn't trust the fandom, and they didn't trust the IP.
Hang on a second. If they trusted the fandom and trusted the IP, they never would have they would never have done this movie. Because the fandom didn't want it. Nobody who's a fan.
The fandom didn't want it, but you could still do it, and it could still be successful.
Sure. But again, to the point you're saying, well, they should listen to the fandom. No, if they listen to the fandom, we wouldn't be talking about this.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they were like, no, we don't want this. If it doesn't have Robert Englund, fuck all. I don't care about it. We'll go watch it and shit all over it, which is exactly what the three of us are doing right now. But you take the risk, yes, but come on. At least listen to what the fandom has said in the past.
Well, you look at say the producer. So you say you have Michael Bay. Michael Bay is going to be the biggest voice, despite who I can't remember who directed this movie. Michael Bay is going to be the biggest voice on the set. He's going to get whatever he wants because he has the money,
right?
And he doesn't have the horror background.
No,
in it. That's why it's like, well, maybe
Friday the 13th.
Exactly. He doesn't. He made a name for himself in big blockbuster action films.
Yep.
That's it. And Michael Bay knows how to make fucking money off of them.
And notice how Nightmare on Elm Street remake had an explosion in it.
Right at the very beginning. Or right in that sequence, right in the running sequence, right, the boom explosions. I was counting the minutes in Friday the 13th, 2009 as to when we were getting a fucking explosion. We finally got one.
There it goes.
Michael Bay got his start doing the Got Milk commercials.
Yeah, start somewhere.
I mean, that would make me want to blow shit up too, I guess.
So Ronan Ellison brings up much like the Evil Dead remake, which it's really more of a continuation of the story. So it's like a in the same universe kind of thing. Though he didn't like it, but it had its own voice at least, and it had a vision. And Fede Alvarez is an amazing director, and I fucking loved the Evil Dead, the 2013 Evil Dead. I thought it was brilliant. The first 5 minutes had me just locked. I was like, holy fuck. Because it was so different from what Raimi had put forward. It's like, this one is going to be in your face, and it is going to be hard.
Because they brought something new.
Right.
Yeah.
They had the opportunity to do that with it, to do that with this. There are some sequences that I actually like in this movie. Okay. There were some cool things, the way the focus on Freddy's glove and the use of that in particular scenes. I liked what they did with that because it captured what we already love about the character, one of the most frightening aspects of the character, and they really played with it. And they said, just that scene when he drops the glove on the pipes in the drain and just begins to drag it, and then and then it doesn't start at first, but then all of a sudden the sparks start going everywhere like that. And then the sequence in the drugstore, I thought was brilliantly shot. When she's dropping between and it keeps switching back and forth. And I thought that was brilliant. You could see what they were going for, but then they stutter stepped right before the end.
But then you try to recreate all the iconic stuff from the original, and you do it poorly.
Yep.
Right.
And that's the thing it's like, how can you have a film that has almost nothing of a budget and execute all this stuff very extremely well, and then you have the movie that has the budget and they can obviously do it much better. And
it's like they were trying to, I don't know. It's like they were like, we got to redo the Tina scene. We got to redo that because that was an icon. That was groundbreaking, right? The rotating room and all that shit. It was like,
still not accomplished well because the original one was phenomenal.
The original one,
and, it's just like,
it's because the original one was innovative.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody had really seen that before. Like, holy shit, how are they making that work? They had to think, well, what we do is make this rotating room. We'll put the camera here, and then the room rotates, and it's just going to look great. Now, they know this, and they're going to redo this, and we're looking at thinking, well, this is not good. It's just not good.
It's just her on wires, and you can tell that she's on wires.
Right.
On it. And that's another reason is like you look at the Friday
Aaron,
13th
I'm sorry,
series.
Eugene, but Aaron brings up a great point. And then back to you, Eugene. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. You talk about you cannot replace passion with a large budget, and that is 100% correct. And I don't see Michael Bay as a passion filmmaker. I see somebody who maybe he was at one point as he got into it, but he makes money. And going back to like the love, the care, the craft, the extra time of like, hey, we have this little budget. How do we maximize? How do we get blood to fill a room? How do we get Freddy Krueger to press through? Because these are the effects that we want, but we don't have the budget. And now it's just throw CG on top of it.
The only time Michael Bay has been personally invested in a film is when he let Will Smith drive his Ferrari in Bad Boys 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much as close as it gets. I mean, if you really want a treatment of of the Michael Bay experience, just watch Epic Rap Battles of History, Steven Spielberg versus Alfred Hitchcock. It pretty much sums up the Michael Bay mentality beautifully at the end.
That is still the best epic rap battle ever. I'm not even a fan of epic rap battles history. I'm just not. But that one will make me laugh every time.
All right, so we got to ask the audience. Obviously, not a loved remake. A lot of problems with this one, and I think, when it comes down to it, especially when you're going to do a remake, you got to take the fans into consideration. You got to take the fandom. And you can't stutter step. You can't when you're going something like this, which is why I'm concerned about The Crow.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with it. If they go full bore with no fear, I think we're going to get something solid. But if
only thing I can say about this type of don't redo these movies. But if you got a wild hair or somebody's paying you to do it, fucking go for broke.
Go for broke. Absolutely.
You go for broke, and this is the thing: you go for broke, and if it means taking less money budget-wise, so you can do the film that you want, I'd rather make a $1 million film that I want to do than a $10 million film that studio does that doesn't take risk and is all BS.
Yeah. So, got to ask the audience on this. No. Given that, I mean, pretty much, obviously Robert Englund is retired from the role, just like all of the great actors that brought these horror icons to life are pretty much retiring from them. But the question then becomes: is the Nightmare franchise dead? Now, this came out in 2010. The Friday the 13th remake came out in 2009, but this one came out in 2010, and I think that is it dead? Or do you think they may come back to it maybe 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years later and try to redo it? I just found out that Lionsgate is planning a Leprechaun reboot. So even that franchise not going away. Given that kind of new information, I'm curious, what do you think? Is the Nightmare franchise dead? Should they just leave this one alone? We actually went out on a Robert Englund note when he did his little cameo in the Goldbergs. At least gave us one little bit of Freddy before he hung up the glove. The question is, do you think they'll try and bring it back, or is it done? And which one would you prefer?
Going to bed for at least 10 years.
Yeah. So definitely let us know in the comments below here in the live chat, or of course at weekinhorror@gmail.com. And everybody, I see a lot of "Let It Die." Oh, and they said for Leprechaun, what the fuck? Why?
Yeah.
I don't. I say it's done.
I saw you hang your head.
Yeah, you had a good.
I don't know. Okay, so they're gonna look. They're going to try and reboot Freddy again. It's going to happen. They're going to try and reboot Voorhees again. It's going to happen. If anything, this Michael Myers trilogy, this new Halloween trilogy, has probably got studios thinking, maybe we can bring back Freddy Krueger, and Hellraiser is coming back. It's going to be different, but so yeah, I'm sorry.
Tony Regime said it might be dead now, but the horror genre is well known for resurrecting things.
Where's that Malamute? Where's that Malamute picture?
I think if you're right, if Halloween's making money and Hellraiser comes back and Hellraiser makes money, we will see.
I think this is going to depend upon how the third Halloween film, how Halloween Kills, susses out. It's going to bank on that. Well, I guess we're going to find out. All right, I think it's about that time. I think it is trivia time.
It is that time.
Alex still does it the best.
He does do it the best. So, Eugene, you've got this week we are giving away a limited edition shirt number 5. So, if you want to get your hands on that limited edition shirt number 5, then be the first one in the live chat to direct, I saw direct because Rodinello's name said, let a different director tackle it. Cronenberg, Elm Street.
That would be
fun. I would watch that. Yeah.
I would watch that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to his Crimes of the Future. with Viggo Mortensen and Kristen. I know Kristen Stewart's in it, but I think she's a smaller role. But it centers around Viggo Mortensen and his wife, and Lea Seydoux. I'm really looking forward to that one because apparently it's brutal and hard to watch.
As long as Kristen Stewart is on the receiving end of some of that brutality.
He's so mean. All right, I got to pull up the live chat.
Kristen Stewart, you may be one of the sweetest people in the world. I'll never know because, whatever, but your acting is terrible and I can't just let it pass. I'm sorry.
Oh, leave her alone.
Leave Kristen Stewart alone.
No, act better.
Act better. Do good. Get gooder.
Get good. Work on your craft.
All right.
We'll do another take, but this time better.
All right, everybody. Get those Google fingers. Stretch out those Google fingers. Eugene, give him the trivia question for tonight.
The trivia question is: writer Wesley Strick got the job to write the Elm Street remake after impressing New Line with his prequel script to what 1995 horror film? I'll say it again. Writer Wesley Strick got the job to write the Elm Street remake after impressing New Line Cinema with his prequel script to what 1995 horror film? So he wrote a prequel script to a 1995 horror film. What is that film?
I like what Tony Regime says.
42.
Tony Regime says, I've seen planks act with more emotion.
That blank wall in the background.
Unfortunately, Christopher Music Channel, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. And I see you, Tina, as well. Thank you so much, Tina, for being here. Chris Durham says the hokey pokey. Nah, close, but not really.
Close, but not even.
And Angel Rivera, nope, it's not Blade.
Nope, not Cape Fear.
But you got this New Line. That's New Line, not Cape Fear.
Come out wherever you are.
What 1995 horror film?
The Little Mermaid.
Yep. That was 94, but whatever. Close enough.
Oh, getting schooled.
Oh, man. It was not arachnophobia.
Right. Who's got it? Wasn't arachnophobia. No Jinju, it wasn't 10. Arachnophobia. Raven, it wasn't Porky's 10. What the?
There's a Porky's 9?
Nope, not Doom.
Not Doom.
I'll say it again. Writer Wesley Strick got the job to write the Elm Street remake after impressing New Line Cinema with his prequel script to what 1995 horror film?
I'll say this was my ex-girlfriend, like way back when. This was the first movie we went to go see together in theaters.
Was that?
And it wasn't Breakdown, Tango and Cash.
Jinju's got it.
There it is.
There it is. The correct answer is 7.
Actually, C7N.
C7N. There's a good Doom, The Tie That Binds, Breakdown. Interesting. Tango and Cash. Come on, Charlie. I expect more from you.
We can talk about that answer. Is perfect.
Yep.
So congratulations, Jinju. Yes.
Fucked up shit.
And this is interesting. As interesting as it is, I would have liked to have read that script. I don't know where he would have gone with it, but if it was enough to impress New Line and get him another gig, I would have liked to have read that. Apparently, obviously, it wasn't impressive enough to shoot, but
that would be tough to do because Morgan Freeman makes 7, along with Brad Pitt.
Right.
Kind of hard. Which one of those characters do you go into their backstory, and then how do you recast? Because Brad Pitt's fucking,
or go into the backstory of John Doe,
or you go to, but then Kevin Spacey, he's too busy,
doing other stuff he shouldn't be doing.
I'm pretty sure Kevin was exonerated of those issues.
Was he, or did he just quietly go away?
I don't know. I'd heard he'd been.
Did he just use homosexuality?
I'd heard he'd been exonerated, but I think the damage was done. So it may take some time before he ever comes back. So Annie says, "What's in the box?" Really would have loved to see Gwyneth Paltrow's head in that box. Well, fun fact: If you want to see Gwyneth Paltrow's head, the head that they were going to use in the box, that they were going to show in the box, and they didn't show that. That same head was used in the movie Contagion after her character died in the hospital. They used that same head.
Yeah, but hey, we got this head. What are we gonna do with it?
We got this Gwyneth Paltrow head. Let's put it to use. So they used it in the movie Contagion. So
how do you keep it for that long? Like someone's like, well, I got Gwyneth Paltrow's head. Let me store the head collection.
The question is, who had it?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, by the way,
Kevin Spacey had it.
I wonder if you can get a job in Hollywood just making celebrity heads. So it's like
Oh,
right, so we got Matt Damon's dying in this film. Call the head guy, and he just already has a Matt Damon head ready to go.
He has to speak with like this weird, just like long, low voice. Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. The original script had Freddy being innocent, and it was a vengeful spirit. So, yeah,
the original Wes Craven script, or
no, the original remake one.
The remake script. I'm glad
they wanted to make him into a vengeful. But then it's bringing a kind of what was it? It's a sympathetic note that they were like they tried to do with Jason, and you can't make Jason sympathetic.
No, you can't make either one of them. Look, Jason already had a sympathetic note in the first movie.
In the very first movie,
he already had a sympathetic note when that wasn't good enough.
It became unsympathetic the minute he tracked that final girl to her apartment and drove an ice pick through her head. Yes. That's when you cease to be
like, all right,
sympathetic.
We were going to give you a pass, Mr. Voorhees, but now, I have to take away your recess.
Oh, medium macabre. I think it's known as a fluffer.
Jesus Christ. Oh, man. And that will bring another episode of Week in Horror to a close. Thank you all so much for listening, and we truly hope you enjoyed the show. If you didn't, check your pulse. Join us next week when we look back at classic Bela Lugosi in The Black Cat. Ooh, that's a fun one. The oddball zombie comedy Dead Heat. That's a different movie, I thought. More Tall Man horror in Phantasm 3, Lord of the Dead, and the hilariously gruesome Benny Loves You. That's true. We'd like to send a special shout out to all of our amazing patrons who continue to help us make the Week in Horror the incredible success it has become. Thank you all so much. We actually picked up a couple new ones today. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Be sure to stop by Josh Olsen's store, www.badsamurai.store. He does all of our amazing artwork for the show, and his designs are incredible. Go pick up his shirt. He's a really great guy. I've known this guy since high school. Really awesome dude. For more horror fun, be sure to follow us on all the socials where you get the daily splatter right into your feeds, and check us out at Digital Darkness, our new YouTube gaming channel hosted by the wonderful Alien X Gaming. Remember, you too can help combat the evil algorithm by dropping a comment, liking, subscribing, and smashing that bell as if it were a UA Bull waving a new game adaptation script for all the latest updates to the show. Goodness, you have to throw that UA bullshit in there.
I do.
And lastly, if you love what we do and you would like and are able to support our production, you can do so through our Patreon. Because we all go a little mad sometimes, you can show your Week in Horror love by joining one of our subscriber tiers. Join your fellow fanatics, slashers, possessed, and mastermind patrons for all kinds of special behind-the-scenes access to the Week in Horror podcast. But if Patreon isn't your favorite stalking method, you can always support us directly through our PayPal. Links to everything, including our Discord community, where you can find trailers, trivia games, horror watch parties, share your own content, and even interact directly with the crew, are down in the description. As always, sharing this show with the fans in your local horror community is the absolute best way to help us further our goals of global horror domination. Such a good song. Thank you all for being the greatest audience a podcast could have. I'm the fat guy still.
I'm JL.
I'm Eugene.
We'll see you next week. And as always, stay scared.